So we have gone live on FB and we will be starting in a while. Still some of our audiences are joining in.
Sapna ma'am, we are good to go.
Good to go?
Yes.
Okay, great. So a very good evening to all of you. I'm Sapna Shindolkar, the design head at Parisar Asha and your host for the evening. On behalf of Parisar Asha, I welcome you all to Parisar Asha's annual summit 2022 for educators and changemakers and the Gloria D'Souza International Excellence Awards for the Best Educator Award ceremony. Empowering education since 1982, this is Parisar Asha's 40th anniversary celebration. To commemorate the special occasion of our 40th year, as you can see on my screen, we have chosen the theme to be New Hopes and New Beginnings. And I'm sure that this sentiment is being echoed in every heart and mind of all of us present here today. The pandemic has left us without guard, and the worst hit were the underprivileged sections. People lost their loved ones, jobs, homes, and children lost their prime time of attending schools and the joy of childhood. But dark times are not for eternity. These are the times which are constant reminders that there is light on the other side of the tunnel. Nurturing this optimism, and as we embark on the 40th year of our journey in the field of education, we invite each one of you to be a part of this momentous occasion. And hopeful that the coming year will see the beginning of better, healthier, and happier times. The past few years have been challenging for most of us and our families. Challenges in terms of health, in terms of finances, in terms of relationships, mental health, and many more. So, the summit brings together the best minds from various fields who will share their insights about various topics and the strategies to embrace these changes, which will create a harmonious synergy and help us to accept the new normal way of life. They have obliged us by joining hands with Parisar Asha in our mission. So right at the beginning, we would like to thank all our esteemed judges, all our esteemed speakers for their valuable presence. Now, as is the tradition with Parisar Asha, we always begin our events with an invocation prayer song. So let us have an invocation prayer song by Ms. Anjali Hoskote, and accompanying her on the keyboard is Ms. Chaya Mukherjee. So can we have the song, please?
अखण्डमण्डलाकारम् व्याप्तं येन चराचरम् तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्री तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः.
Yes, thank you so much. That was a wonderful rendition. So thank you, Anjali and Ms. Chaya Mukherjee. And with that, we are ready to begin on an auspicious note. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are a leader. And that is exactly what Ms. Aarti Savur is all about. Ms. Aarti Savur is the CEO of Parisarasha Center for Educational Research and Training and a leader with many feathers in her cap. She's a passionate educationist, an artist, motivational speaker, and a life coach. She brings with her a rich experience of 26 years in the field of education and the corporate world. She strongly believes that to bring about a positive change in the society, there is an ardent need to bring about continuous innovation in the education system. In the last few years, she has brought about many positive changes in the organization and in the society at large through various innovative projects like Ecotech World School Program, Free Parenting Helpline, innovative workshops for students, teachers, and parents for a sustainable tomorrow. She has been honored with many national and international awards. Recently, she has been selected by Indian Achievers Club for 99 Indian Women Achievers Award 2021, CAIT Women Entrepreneurship Award 2021 by Federation of All India Traders. SME Global Business acknowledged Aarti as one of the top 100 global women leaders 2021. Her work during the pandemic has also been recognized, applauded, and awarded. I now invite Ms. Aarti Savur, the CEO of Parisar Asha, for the opening note. Over to you, Aarti.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Sapna. It was indeed a wonderful introduction. Thank you so much. I'm really blessed to have a team like all of you. So, and all my award goes to my team. So, anyways, wishing you all very happy Lori, Magh Bihu, Pongal, Uttarayan, Makar Sankranti. And yeah, it's been 40 years, 40 glorious years. And I really feel I'm so blessed that I could get this opportunity to carry on the legacy of Gloria, where she had been a visionary. 40 years ago she had this vision, dream to change the education system from rote learning, traditional rote learning, to this experiential joyful learning, that is ESOL. And we are really blessed and we are really proud, and I can say, with so much of love that all of you has given. So I really welcome all of you, all the participants of Gloria Awards, all the educators, all the well-wishers, and all our social media friends and followers who have been, like part of our journey for 40 years and has unconditionally loved us. So, in fact, we were thinking that we will be doing, since it's a 40th year, we will be actually hosting a physical event. And we had actually, almost we were on the verge of booking our regular venue. But unfortunately, with this Omicron cases rising up, we had to, come back to our new normal. And now we are online. We are continuing with the online things. But we thought, let's have this particular topic for today's seminar, that new hopes and new beginnings. Because whenever we have challenges, definitely hope is something which really takes us through all those challenges in a positive way. And umeed pe to duniya kayam hai. So considering all the different aspects, and especially this COVID issue, and I'm sure everybody, and this time nobody has been spared. Almost every second house has been having these cases of Omicron. And yeah, in fact, many of our team members have been also affected with this. Many of our speakers, our today's esteemed speakers, have been also affected with this. But just look at the kind of positivity and passion that everybody is here, and thanks to this technology, that we could join from anywhere in the world in spite of whatever challenges we had. So thank you so much for always being there with us. So I welcome all of you. I welcome our esteemed guests. Anyway, Sapna has already formally welcomed. So I would like once again to welcome all of you and also take you through the journey of Parisar Asha, because it will be you have been part of our success story. So what we have done is we have made two different parts now. One is our pre-pandemic part and another is the pandemic part, because we had to really change, the entire life has been changed during pandemic. So Sukada, can you please share the video, our pre-pandemic video?
We are all born with these natural qualities. We have all experienced these qualities when we were young. But as we grow up, we forget our natural qualities. Rather, we are forced to forget. Can we dream of a learning system where our natural qualities are encouraged for future sustainability of the individual and also our planet? Parisar Asha is Gloria's dream to change the education system to provide joyful learning for a sustainable future through the environment for the environment. Gloria D'Souza, a school teacher, created revolution in the history of Indian education with her not-for-profit registered trust, Parisar Asha. Gloria was the first Ashoka Fellow and has been awarded with international recognition as a social entrepreneur. Today, Parisar Asha is spearheaded by Ms. Aarti Savoor with a team of professionals from various national and international backgrounds. Parisar Asha is supporting public and private schools to provide affordable, joyful education at par with global standards.
Government says right to education. We believe at Parisar Asha right to right education. To support our educational institutions to provide quality education and also creative education, Parisar Asha has various unique programs. One of the signature program is Ecotech World School program, because what we believe that today the need is to be eco. Eco is not only your environment, but it can be also your economy, and tech is a technique to live life.
Ecotech World School program is a wholesome program to empower schools to address the challenges of 21st century educational needs while maintaining the fundamentals and identity of the school intact through its unique pedagogy of ESOL, Environmental Studies Approach Towards Learning. This comprehensive program provides global curriculum suitable for State Board and CBSE syllabus for nursery to Standard 7, detailed lesson plan guidelines, digital and traditional teaching aids, virtual classrooms, worksheets and workbooks, assessment and evaluations, teachers training to develop academic skills as well as soft skills, and parents orientation. In a nutshell, a complete support system to create tomorrow's successful, positive, global citizens. Environment, school, teacher, and parent. These are very important factors in the child's learning process. To complete this chain and to address parental issues, Parisar Asha has launched a free helpline number.
It gives me great pleasure to be here at this global symposium on soul in education organized by Parisar Asha. which is taking government's initiative of right to education a step further by promoting right education.
एजुकेशन सिस्टम को थोड़ा सुधारे, थोड़ा क्रिएटिव ही बनाए, जैसी आपकी थिंकिंग है, तो मैं बड़ी खुश हो जाऊंगी क्योंकि आई एम अ पेरेंट टुडे.
Yes, indeed, it was a great journey. That was pre-pandemic. Yeah, and now the pandemic comes. And definitely, I know it was a difficult situation, but I'm really glad that we all stood together and we got so much of support from our CSR partners, individual, well-wishers, and also all our schools who had been there with Parisar Asha for so many years. And the journey continues. So here comes our during pandemic, what we have been doing with our services, the way we had to really rework on the way we are engaging our students, our teachers, and our parents. So everything has become online. So Sukhada, can you please share the PPT? Yeah. So our second wave of pandemic has really hit very badly, and now, of course, this is the third wave. This is the third year of pandemic. We have started living with the virus now. But yeah, year one was really difficult. Year two was even more difficult because of second wave was very bad. But that time, of course, our efforts with your support had been continuously working towards how we can improve the quality of education, and there were a lot of challenges too, but somehow whatever best we could offer we have managed to work with all of you. Next slide. So here comes our initiatives and innovations what we had to do during pandemic. So this is our traditional ecotech world school program what is now online, which was offline, now it is online. And all the services what we were providing to the schools, which is now like we have created a digital portal, but then still we are maintaining the ethos of Parisar Asha's philosophy, and still the pedagogy of Parisar Asha is still strong, though we have adopted to the new normal and the technology, and the reach is 20,000 students. Yeah, next slide. We also started with this e-commerce site because there were many parents who had been asking for Parisar Asha's worksheet books, because this is the main USP of Parisar Asha, that we are the pioneers. 40 years ago, Gloria brought this worksheet methodology in India, where we started creating worksheets. And yeah, today you find there are every school is creating, there are so many different companies and organizations who are creating worksheets. But Parisar Asha's worksheets had been a unique, you can say, where everybody is still appreciating the way we are designing Parisar Asha's worksheets, where we are not only thinking of just academic skills, but there is also a lot of skill building for 21st century, and also attitude and value building is taken care of. Yeah, so now you can log on to Parisar Asha's e-commerce site, and it's the same Parisar Asha site. You go Google, go to Parisar Asha site, and you can avail. We have from nursery till grade 7. You can choose any worksheet book, whichever you want, and you can place the order so that it can reach to your home and your children. Because unfortunately, our children today are not going to school, and all these years, for 38 years, we did not allow our schools to take these worksheets at home. You can, like there are so many schools with us who will vouch for that. We had been insisting, no, it has to be done in the school after conducting the activity, and then the final stage is a writing stage, noting down stage. So that needs to be done. But unfortunately, there were no schools. Children were there at home, and parents, they were their new teachers in the new normal. So that's where, to help to support parents, we had to keep this open, where parents can buy this from our e-commerce site. Yeah, next slide. So these are my book of worksheets of every subject, which is available now on Parisarasha's website.
I see a box. The box is brown. I see a bug in the box. The bug is little and red.
So we are very happy that so many children just sent us this video that they were working at home, and the parents were so happy, and it actually completes the cycle of joyful learning. Because finally, writing is also equally important, and it is going to recall what they
I
have
see
learned.
a box.
Yeah, then we started with Ecotech Digital Resource Center because in pandemic we could not send all the material physically. So that's how now all our teachers who are associated with Parisar Asha's Ecotech program, they can download from our digital resource center, and they have been doing this. So now all these traditional teaching aids have been also converted into a digital teaching aids resources, and now they are taking they can download from our resource center, where you can also have extra question bank and whatever is required, star worksheet, grammar worksheets, testing sheets, everything is possible from our digital resource center. Yeah. And yeah, we also have Marathi medium worksheets uploaded over there. And Marathi medium resources, our daily lesson plans, everything is uploaded on our digital resource center. We started with lot of online workshops for educators because yeah, our educators, many of the schools where we were working, because we work with all different categories of schools. It's not just only underprivileged, not just only like overprivileged schools, but we pan India, we are catering to all different socio-economically challenged, and also coming from different environmental background. We cater to those schools. Of course, we always tailor-made things for these schools, where we realize that there is a need for even our teachers to handhold for this new normal. So we started with this online workshop for educators, where we start, we are calling that as WOW series, is Wednesday online workshop. So you can see a lot of different interesting topics were available for our teachers. So the reach is 1500 educators in last year, that is 21. Yeah. Next. Sukada, next slide. Yeah. We also started with leadership webinars in association with Women's Movement for Peace and Prosperity. And we were really, lucky to have such big leaders from the industry to come for our webinar and address all our educators so that we can create tomorrow's leaders. Yeah, next. This is the best thing what has happened during pandemic, because everything is online. We could reach out to many more students. We could scale up our entire work what Parisar Asha had been doing. So now we are directly dealing with children also. We started with lot of different activities for children directly. So creative kids camp in association with Hindu in school, where we conducted 10-day mega online summer camp, Diwali camp, Christmas camps pan India, and where almost 1000 children took benefit. Yeah, next. Yeah, in fact, Eco Ganpati, that was our signature program with Parisar Asha, where before pandemic, we used to go to the school. So many of you have already experienced our eco-friendly Ganpati workshops. So where we were actually, like going with the clay, ready clay, and where we were teaching children with the skills, where we can create Ganpati out of eco-friendly Shadu clay, so that we can save our environment and our children becomes the ambassadors. So now entire program we have transferred on this online medium, and it has worked so beautifully. So we, in association with the Hindu, we could reach out to 800 children and their family members. So the entire family took part in this activity. Yeah, next. So these are certain snippets in the newspaper. We started with enrichment activities, visual art clubs, performing arts club, where we could take the theater online and visual arts online, and we were really successful. So many children took part in that, And all the grand finales and the performances we have uploaded on our YouTube channel. We also started with spoken English classes for children. Okay, now comes to CSR activities, because these were activities where we were charging minimum, but there were so many children and parents and teachers who comes from the underprivileged sector. So for that, this is our major signature program of positive parenting and child program supported by Capgemini. So this is our 4th year of association, where we have launched this positive parenting and child helpline 4 years ago. And since then, we have been receiving a lot of calls. We were conducting a lot of workshops for parents, like parenting workshops, for students, workshops like exam stress, all the different areas where the mental health is concerned, because still in our country mental health is a social taboo. So we were really you can say we have done our bit to create this awareness about mental health in India, and especially in the society where mental health is never given a priority. A new innovation in this is we have recently launched positive parenting and child digital application. So you can download, if you have Android phone, you can download this digital application on your Android phone, and you can take help of this mental health service free of cost. So this is the glimpses of our positive parenting app launch. Our chief guest was Honorable MP Ms. Supriya Taisule. Next. And we also conducted this emotional well-being conclave, where we had our very eminent personalities from the mental health field, and you can see three of them familiar faces will be talking in our today's seminar again. We also started with this Ask the Expert, which is a talk show, because this started almost 1.5 years ago, where people were not aware. I mean, now at least we have got used to this pandemic situation. We started living with it, but that time everything was new. There was a lot of fear factor. People were, they had gone through a lot of losses, their personal loss, near and dear ones, and mentally lot of cases of depression, anxiety, trauma. So to address all these areas, we started with this Ask the Expert talk show, where we invited all the top psychologists, psychiatrists, and also educationists from this industry, and they were addressing different mental health conditions. So we had 3 seasons, 40 episodes, and almost 80,000 viewers. This is another program, very interesting program, Million Caring Citizens program, Green Army Family by Mahindra Life Spaces. So this program, this is I think our 7th year with in association with Mahindra Life Spaces, where we used to conduct physical activities. Physically, we used to go to the schools and conduct these energy conservation workshops with the students of 4th grade. Almost 200 students were addressed in every school. Now, because of this online medium, we have converted that into Green Army Family, and now we are actually inducting in the entire family into this environmental sustainability. And we were really happy to share the results that 80 schools and 10,000 families had been sensitized in this particular program last year. Next. School support program during pandemic. So the main focused area where Parisar Asha is working is the school support program, where we provide with the teachers training. We have teaching aids, we have our worksheets, workbooks, and that time we realized there were a lot of schools, they were not able to actually they were not able to get their fees. Also in government schools also the condition was very bad. Children were out of school, they were not having the devices, neither the ability to have the Wi-Fi or the all these gadgets. So that time we got the support of NOV and Rotostat and other individual donors who supported Parisar Asha to support these children, and we could reach out to 10,000 students from underprivileged schools from rural and urban Maharashtra, where we provided them with all sorts of these kind of supports, where teachers training and the students' material, learning material was concerned, and also free workshops and free classes for students. Yeah, next. So I would like to also, share over here our young change makers. So they are the school going and college going girls, Anaya Londe, Anishka Thakur, and Sayukta Parmeshwaran. So they have been, of course, we had a bank of volunteers were working for Parisar Asha. They were supporting us. But these three are, because they are so young, but then so much enthusiasm and really the willpower to do something for the society. So this really gives us hopes. And of course, these can be a new beginning. Yeah.
परीक्षा राशा बुक तुम्ही मला फ्री मध्ये पुस्तकं दिली यामुळे मला अभ्यासात खूप मदत झाली थँक्यू
ह्या अतिशय भयंकर कोरोना काळात तुम्ही माझ्या मुलीला फ्री पुस्तकं दिल्याबद्दल खूप खूप आभार
थँक्स सो मच परिसर आशा बुक फ्री दिल्याबद्दल.
Yeah. So we also did under CSR eco-friendly Ganpati making online workshops with the great support of UPL Lions Club of Vijayanagar. So the reach is almost 3,500 students for last year. Next. Study Circle is also another free program what we started for the students of 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th standard student with the great support of Tadumal Chani Engineering College. Because here we wanted them, our children to have the mentors, because when they see the students coming from the good engineering colleges and they are striving to become something in their lives, so our children gets to see a role model over there. So the main idea of this particular program is creating role models, creating mentors to our children. So the reach is 400 students who comes from underprivileged sector. Reading club, this is also another free initiative because reading is dying. So to really give that encouragement to the reading skills, we started this online reading club. The reach is 2,000 students. Our CSR partners for 2021, and in fact 2 of the partners are also part of our guest speakers. So thank you so much all our partners for always being there with Parisar Asha. This is the 40th year and I look forward for another 400 years. So our new initiatives, we are working on a new initiative called Creative Beginnings. Of course, the Creative Beginning is the name of our preschool book. But in line with NEP, right from nursery till grade 2, we have created this particular content only for progressive schools. So if you are interested, you can get in touch with us to know more about this initiative. Design Studio, everybody used to appreciate our designs whenever we broadcast anything on the WhatsApp. So that time everybody has been, appreciating and asking us, why don't you also provide your services to others, like especially other schools? So we have started doing this, and I'm very proud to tell you that our design studio is part of, we believe in inclusion, and we have with us deaf and mute brilliant artists who have been part of this design studio. So if you have any kind of, your need to create some collaterals or any brochures, you can get in touch with us. This will also help our, differently challenged people who are part of Parisar Asha's team. And our, of course, we have been always doing this teachers training programs, but this is something which we are coming up in a brand new way. So you can, keep looking for more information about this. Yeah. Next. Awards and recognitions. Yeah, though we don't work for awards, but this is something which falls in our laps, and it's always great to, when somebody appreciates your work. So we are really blessed as a Parisar Asha, our entire team, and the Parisar Asha is really blessed to have so many awards and recognitions in 2021 also. So thank you so much. It was indeed a great journey of 40 years, and I'm looking forward for your continued support. And I know you all love us so much. Keep loving us, and all the best to all the Gloria Award winners also, and people who have been, who had sent their nomination, because we got so many, almost 250 plus nominations for Gloria Awards, and it was a very difficult task for our jury members to filter. Of course, the first filtration was done and then it was sent to the jury members. So it's very, very difficult. And of course, in this online platform is very difficult, but all the award winners, uh, congratulations to all of you. And those who have not received the awards, because I can see here there are many people who have been continuously trying, and definitely ek din aapka zarur aayega, because at the time of when you send your award, there are so many other educators who are really senior and who has really like worked, maybe because of their seniority their work is more. So, and our juries are secret juries, because we don't disclose our juries names to anyone. So thank you so much and welcome all of you for this award ceremony. And your awards will be not physically given over here because we can't give, but you will receive at your residence. The award and the trophies will be given to you at your residence. So thank you so much. I have taken a lot of time, but now we start with our summit, our creative summit. And yeah, over to you, Sapna.
Yes, so thank you so much, Aarti, for that wonderful presentation. It definitely was an extensive one because it was 40 years of the journey that we were covering, right? And I would especially like to mention here that there are a lot of educators on the summit today. So kindly take a note of what all different initiatives that Parisar Asha is coming up with, new ones, also the existing ones, and please collaborate with us so that, together we can empower education for a very sustainable and bright future. So with that, we are going on to the next part of the summit, which is the topics that are going to be covered by our different speakers. And here I would like to mention to all the audiences that as our speakers are talking on the certain topics, if you do have any questions, please put them in the chat box and we can see if we can address a few of them, right? So with that, it is now time to invite our first speaker of the summit, our first esteemed speaker who has definitely taken time out for us in spite of being a bit under the weather, and that is Mr. Kumar Anurag Pratap, who is the Vice President, Corporate Social Responsibility, Capgemini Technology Services India Limited. Mr. Anurag Pratap brings with him more than 24 years of diversified experience in CSR and community development. At present, he anchors CSR at Capgemini India. He specializes in leading the organization towards change and transition management in social development space. As an author of various articles of developmental issues and challenges, Mr. Anurag has been a recipient of several awards and recognition. He speaks frequently at various academic institutes, seminars, and workshops about social development and sustainability issues, as well as strategies to address the same. So we are very fortunate and we are honored to have you at the summit, Mr. Pratap, and over to you for your topic, education and employability. So over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sapna, and wishing all of you a very happy and COVID-free New Year. I wish 2022 becomes a better year in all possible sense. Congratulations, Aarti and Parisar Asha team for your 40th year of existence. And I'm sure when you said 400 years, why only 400 years? Let this be in eternity. Grow as you march forward, help more people, help more students, help more teachers, and bring in the right education as you rightly called out. It's a fabulous opportunity to celebrate excellence in education, celebrate, I'll say, the right perspective in education. It's the opportunity to recognize the teachers who have, or educators who have brought in the joy back in education. And so my congratulations to all the winners also, and congratulations to all those who participated in the contest, because you winning, not winning is not important. What is important is that you are striving hard to bring in new way of a new pedagogy of to students, make them what is called become more curious, make them more I'd say exuberant, make them more enthusiastic about the things, concepts, construct which are floating around in the environment. So I'll start with a huge sense of gratitude to Pariksha Rasa for doing what the kind of work that they're doing in this space. Topic given to me primarily is very pertinent in today's world. It becomes very relevant when the new normal becomes like where you are expected to achieve 95% marks, or that's the new normal. New normal is not the hybrid mode that these days people are talking about on educating people or going online. But the new normal that I have seen in the last 2 years is where if you don't get 95% marks, you and your surrounding makes you feel as if you have failed. And that's I'll say in so many ways we are doing huge injustice to the whole community where the brilliance is not going to get measured by the marks that you're scoring, but brilliance needs to be measured by the kind of innovative thoughts that you bring in there, and that becomes very relevant in today's context to really talk about it, because this is putting huge amount of stress, huge amount of anxiety, huge amount of worries, not just to students but also to their parents. I guess the whole examination season is becoming, I'll say, traumatic period for the whole family, where people have started dreading the whole examination season or the year. The moment your child enters class 10th or class 12th, we started getting this particular pride of telling everyone that, hey, I've removed broadband from my house, I've removed cable connection from my house, I've removed this, I've removed that, and all these are putting huge amount of stress to students and to the parents. What are we getting in return? There's no study which says that if you achieve 99% marks in your class 10th or class 12th, you'll be as successful as your class 12th marks was when you start your journey in life. There's no study which says that all the toppers of schools are toppers in their life journey also. There's no study which says that if you have got 40% marks or 50% marks in your class 10th and you remain 40% or 50% achiever in the life also. The contrary, there are a number of examples which say that people who failed their class 10th or class 12th have went on to become doyens of industries, or they've created newer ideas and new thought process there. And that's very important for all of us to somewhere bring in the perspective that marks is not the only ways or only means to identify or recognize how good you are. And that's where I guess somewhere the whole, we need to move our focus to the 21st century education, which primarily talks about how curious you are, how creative you are, and how creative and how curious is not limited to how much marks that you are getting. So one thing that all the teachers who are there in this summit, all the educators who are there in this particular summit, I'll request all of you to somewhere start talking about this to your students, saying that, hey, it's good that you get good marks. It's always good to what is called do good in the examination, but that's not the end. That's not the only test that you will be appearing for. That's I'd say the first of the test that you will be appearing for. And there are a number of tests which will happen in the future. There won't be any marks there. For example, if I ask Aarti, or if I ask Sapna, or if I ask myself, we appear for test every day. Our life is full of tests, and fortunately for us, there is no marks there. And we have to, end of the day, come out as a winner. And the only way that you can recognize whether you are a winner or not is by looking at your face. Are you smiling there or not? Are you making people around you happy or not? People around you, are they really proud of who you are or not? Are you bringing in the values that your teachers, your parents, or your family taught you? Are you really working on, or are you reflecting those values or not? That's what will make you more winner. And that's what we all go through. Everyone who's sitting there in this particular summit, we go through examination every day. And and with all the cables, broadband, TV connection, we appear for all the examination every day. And at the end of the day, we come out as a winner, because there's no other option there for us. We need to win, and we need to win the life that is the challenges that life is throwing at us. So that's the first thing which I wanted to share with all of you, that hey, don't look at your class 10th, class 12th marks so seriously. I didn't get 95%, and I'm not doing that bad. I never got, let's say, anywhere close to 90% marks in my whole journey of academic life, and I'm not doing that bad. I'm happy, and people around me are happy, and I do get messages that I'm making some of them feel proud of what I'm doing. So at least you all can also look at me and feel that if he can do this, all of you have, I'll say, damn good chance of what's called doing excellent in your life. And that's one. The second is somewhere when I guess when people thought of education, or people thought of examination, they never thought that this will bring in anxiety there. This will bring in depression there. This will bring in huge amount of worries there. This was more to test how much you grasp. This was not at all intended, and somewhere we faltered. We made our own share of mistakes, and we as I'd say, we need to take the responsibility. Parents, teachers, educators, we need to take the responsibility that somewhere we brought in the whole angle of anxiety to this. We started comparing one with other. We started saying that, and I'm just using a colloquial example of Samaji ka bete ne kitne acha number leke aaya, or पड़ोस के फला साहब की बेटी ने कितना अच्छा नंबर लेके आए, and we don't realize that we are unnecessarily putting apple in front of oranges. We are unnecessarily we just don't know what is called what is there in me. I recently saw an ad which was talking about that if a shop has so many varieties of shirts and trousers of different sizes, different colors, different fits, and different flavor, why can't a classroom has students of different, I'll say, expertise and different forms of excellence? Everyone can't be small or medium or large with Excel. Everyone can't be wearing the same size there. Similarly, a school will never have everyone at 95% marks, 98% marks. That's one. Second is we need to somewhere celebrate that, hey, there is a dancer amongst us also. There is a sports person amongst us also. There is, I'll say, a creative artist amongst us also. There is someone who is good with drama, good with fashion designing, good with other trade rather than just the doctors, engineers that we are throwing at options to our students. That's what we are doing in Capgemini also. What we are trying to bring in through some of the work in this particular journey is where we are helping parents and students to understand that, hey, there are thousands of career options there. And your career options are not limited to you becoming engineers or doctors there, or you becoming a chartered accountant there. There are options available based on kind of aptitude you have or kind of interest orientation that you have. And that's what we are. We have created I'd say, online resource there where you can do your online career mapping to understand based on your orientation, based on your aptitude, what are the options available to you. Can we look into those options also, rather than limiting ourselves to options where you need to have 98% marks or 99% marks. That's one. Second is there is I'll say India is becoming a country which is celebrating talent, and talent should not be, and talent must not be explained in terms of marks that you're getting. Talent should be and must be explained through how creatively you are expressing yourself, how creatively you are solving issues, solving problems, solving challenges, and then providing a solution in front of people. And India in the last few years has become the hub of innovation in this particular space also. And that's where I'll request all the educators and all the teachers to bring in the whole culture of innovation there at the classroom itself, where innovation in terms of I'll give you one or two examples there. I remember there was one girl in Northeast came out with, again, I'm not saying that these are students who got 98% marks, but these are the students who had their approach sync up with the local challenges there. She came out with this. She realized that the area where she is living is having rains very frequently, and her mother needs to go out all the time to bring the clothes inside. And once the sun comes back, then she needs to again go back and spread the clothes again there. And then she realized that this is putting a huge amount of hardship there. So she innovated with something where a sensor is there which can sense the raindrops and then pull all the clothes inside. The moment this sensor is not receiving any raindrops, it will again spread the clothes there. A simple thing, and these, in the sense, is helping parents, helping making your parents feel proud of how you're using education, not just trying to get these scores there in your examination. I'll give you another example, which I feel very proud of, and I get my goosebumps there whenever I talk about this. I remember this was just before the lockdown in 2020 Feb. I was in Bangalore with one of my senior leader at Capgemini, showcasing the school improvement in one of the government school at Bangalore. And one of the child was showing the robots that he came out with, and the leader asked him that how many times you failed to create the robot. And this child, without waiting for a second, he said 10 times. And the teacher, the leader, again, being the leader, he had to ask the question. So he asked the second question, saying that, why did you continue? And Pat came the reply that I continued so that people like you can have this belief that government school kids can also do this. The confidence, the whole ability to stand in the crowd and get counted is something what I call education. For me, that is the right education. That is something that we also be bringing in there, where people can explore some of the concept and construct, share in the schools. And that's something that we all should be promoting, encouraging, and facilitating, rather than just making students to mug up and get into a very rot learning. The rot has led to rotten learning in all possible senses. Somewhere we need to dismantle the whole approach on learning there. What we are also doing as part of and something that Aarti shared, and I feel very honored and privileged that Parisha Rasha is doing that, where the helpline number given to students are helping them manage the stress and manage the anxieties which the jam and the stress related to jams are bringing in, not just to them, but also to their parents. So the helpline, positive parenting helpline, helping them mitigate the challenges associated with that. And I must say this, Aarti and Parisha Rasha team, you are pioneer in this particular field. What we have created is people are going to talk about it, not just tomorrow or day after tomorrow, but they'll be talking about this for a number of years, because this is something which was needed by communities, needed by parents, needed by students there. Along with 10th and 12th education, and I saw the agenda of the summit. There are speakers who will be talking about new education policy there. There is one important theme which is there in education, new education policy, which talks about bringing in vocationalization at the school level itself, bringing in skill training at the school itself, and India is moving towards a gig economy. India is moving towards a space where the skill set that you are going to acquire, your application will result into how much you are going to earn and how successful you will be, or the kind of solution that you will be creating will lead to huge amount of impact at the community level. We are also running for students who do not want to pursue further education. We are running a skill development courses there, and these skill development courses are helping students to acquire skills that market is looking for, and these skills are I'll say anything and everything that the market is saying that, hey, I need people trained in that skill. And for that, your time that you spend to acquire that will lead to you becoming economically productive asset for not just for yourself, but also for the larger social background that you are from. So I have now some visitors there with me. So this is the I'll say the advantage of working from home. I have a daughter who is 3.5 years old, and she feels that weekends are meant for her only. And whenever I encroach on that particular space, she has her own way of making her presence felt there. So she just did that particular thing. So the skill development program that we are running are another tool to help communities or students acquire skills which will benefit them. Overall, and I know I've taken a huge amount of time, I'll be closing by saying that let's make education which is where we celebrate acquisition of information and knowledge rather than the marks and the grades that we are getting. Just give me 5 minutes, beta. And so and that's what we all should be focusing on to ensure that how we encourage our students to become more inquisitive, more creative, more curious, more collaborative, rather than just what is called become too individualistic, where they're only concerned about how much marks I'm going to get. But it should be about how I can collaborate together to create solutions which will benefit communities. that should be that should lead to what Aarti said. The time is right for right education. This will lead to the kind of education that we all should be aiming towards. With this, I'll stop. If there are any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer. But congratulations to all the winner. All of you are the winner who participated in this contest. That's one. Second is Aarti and Parisarasha team. Congratulations, 40th year. And let there be, I'll say, Parisarasha be there for eternity. And let there be speaker and speakers and speakers and speakers in centuries to come to talk about how education can make you create wonders for not just for yourself, but wonders for larger world that we all are part of. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pratap. So, Aarti, do we have any questions there?
Yeah, actually, if anybody wants to ask questions to Mr. Anurag, you can just type it in a chat box. If we can take one question quickly.
And apologies for these kids creating a ruckus there.
No, no, no problem. This is all about kids.
And they wanted they always take I have encroached their space, so I have no complaints.
We are all working for children, and our helpline and all our educational services are for children. So definitely they are the top priority, whether it's at home or it's at home.
Yeah. So my rooms are never locked. That's the reason why I let them come in and do whatever they feel like doing.
So I think that's the best part of this lockdown and the COVID crisis. Children are getting all the attention from the parents.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, Aarti. So, are there any questions?
No, there is no question.
No. Thank you.
In that case, I would like to sum up what Mr. Pratap has been so rightly been telling all of us, that marks is not the criteria to judge a person, definitely. And as he rightly said, India is a hub of innovations. I mean, there are lots and lots of stories where we hear about school dropouts going on to becoming big entrepreneurs and CEOs and whatnots of this world, right, sir? So with that, all educators over here, definitely we are progressive and we do have that mindset. But thank you so much, Mr. Pratap, for sharing your valuable views on the topic. So thank you once again. And with that, we present to you the certificate of gratitude from Parisarasha.
So thank you so much, Anurag. In spite of your, I know, family commitments and other commitments, you could give us the time. So thank you so much. And thanks for always being there for Parisarasha and supporting Parisarasha's initiatives, and especially positive parenting and child helpline. Without your support, this was not possible at all.
No, I'm honored. I'm honored, and I've always been saying that more than you saying thank you to me, I should be saying thank you to you for doing what you're doing. So keep doing, and God bless all of you for with abundance, energy, and all health to continue supporting the larger community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. So with that, dear audience, we are going to move ahead to the next segment and to the next topic. And for that, we would now like to invite our next esteemed speaker for the day, who is Dr. Sunita Purushottam. Dr. Sunita Purushottam is the Head of Sustainability, Mahindra Lifespaces Developers Limited. She is a member of the Mahindra & Mahindra CSR Council, member of Mahindra & Mahindra Sustainability Council, Fellow of Royal Met Society London, Certified GHG Emissions Quantifier. Dr. Purushottam has over 20 years of sustainability strategy and environmental consultancy experience in the areas of environmental impact assessment, air pollution modeling and meteorology, GHG emissions inventory and carbon offsets, carbon neutrality strategy, waste management strategy, and water risk technology solutions for sustainability and CSR. She is a physics postgraduate with PhD in environmental science and engineering. And we are extremely honored to have her with us today. And for that, over to you, Dr. Sunita Purushottam, for your topic of the day, education and environmental sustainability. Over to you, Doctor.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Parisharasha, for the opportunity. Thank you, Aarti, and your entire team. And congratulations for celebrating 40 years. Yes, may you guys grow and be able to create more impact through the years of work and the kind of work that you do, which is very, very heartening. Really my heartfelt appreciation for the kind of work and the reach and the change that you guys are making through your work. So today the topic that was given to me was environment and environmental education, so to speak. So while my education has been in environment, and now I'm looking at sustainability and CSR, at that point of time when we were learning, I happened to be in this area by chance, in the sense that my initial love was physics, and I did my master's in physics. And after that, I joined the National Environmental Engineering Research Institute at Nagpur. And that is where I started to see the environmental aspects. And of course, I joined in instrumentation and air pollution department. But my exposure to environmental challenges and problems started then. So that was way back 1995 that I started looking at the environmental challenges. Mostly at that point of time, urbanization was not that much, but in the sense that industrial waste, industrial air pollution were more of a problematic area. So having said that, how has my upbringing helped me become more conscious? So some of the two things, reflecting back, the two things that has helped me embrace this area was the frugal mindset of parents, grandparents. That is one thing that influenced, and very close to nature, living at home. We were lucky to have a house with a big garden. A lot of food we used to grow on our own. My grandmother was an avid gardener. We believed in, having farm fresh food at home. So the garden helped. So some of that, my love of gardening, my love of planting trees, or a green thumb, developing a green thumb, started early on. So I wouldn't say that my education had a lot of environmental components in it. We had something called community living, and then the other subjects, right? So environmental education as such at that point of time was more further on when you went on to do your master's or something. So at that point of time when we were graduating, MSc environment was there, BSc environment was not there. So why am I giving such a background? But it's because how things have changed rapidly, and rapid urbanization has actually impacted lives of people, and we are dealing with two major problems, which is climate change and biodiversity loss. And I did a little bit of research on this. I'm wanting to share my screen. Yeah, so there you go. Can I share my screen? Yes.
Yes, doctor, you have been given access.
Yeah, thank you. So I just did a little bit of a research. I think these slides are a little bit different than the ones I sent you. So, okay. So just 1 minute. So there are generations. So we define these generations, right? Gen Z, millennials, and then now it is the Gen Alpha, right? And what we found was that the pandemic didn't start the sustainability revolution. It was there, and it had already taken everybody started becoming aware of sustainability early 2000. But now it has been put on the hyperdrive, and Gen Z is in the driver's seat. So who are the millennials? The millennials are 81 to 1996. The Gen Z are those who are born in this time frame, 1997 to 2010. So the Gen Z's number one concern is they like to shop green, they want to work in green companies. They can actually leave companies if the ethics of the companies don't match. They are aware of greenwashing and they are deeply connected in the sense on digital. So it's a whole world view of theirs, and therefore they are aware of these problems deeply, right? So, but then now we are talking, so let's look at Gen Z versus millennials, and it's found that Gen Z and millennials are more active than older generations addressing climate change on and offline. So what does this mean? This means that in companies and corporates, when decisions are happening and Gen X and Boomer generations are there, and they are kind of clashing with the Gen Z and the millennials, right? So they are talking about it and they need to see action about it. Okay, so that these are the characteristics of Gen Z and the millennials. Now let's look at the Gen Alpha, and I'll tell you why I'm talking about the Gen Alpha. Gen Alpha is the target group of children who are with whom environmental education, they care a lot about equality and more about equality and environment than adults. 81% of their parents say that the children have influenced the action or consumption decisions, making them environmentally aware. And as they get older, their consciousness will increase. Health is a pressing factor, and they will avoid mainstream ways, and they will defer alternate ways of consumption. I didn't put down about ways of traveling. So they may not own a car, right? So they will choose a wider range of healthier foods. They'll be mindful of sugar intake. And so it's about the food, the way of living, and so on. And even about the way they earn their living, right? So the earning of their living, they are comfortable, right? Because their parents have earned quite a lot for them. So they may not care about a steady income, so to speak. So how does this influence? So environment therefore becomes a top priority for these people. This is a top priority, even compared to the millennials, and the 37% of baby boomers feel the same way. Equality matters for them. They want to eliminate hunger. Safety is a key criteria for them. And for us at Mahindra Life Spaces, this generation Alpha is the one with whom we do this program of creating 1 million caring citizens. So that was a vision, mission, whatever we wanted to do. And these are the children that, so we started our program in 2014. This is a typical picture of in-person activity that we do. And Green Army is the name of the program. So Green Army is basically, Army protects, and the Green Army soldier therefore protects the environment. And it's therefore a unique program because it's a bottoms-up program where children's behavior enables transformation of adult behavior. So that's how it impacts the family and lives of the children influence. It's a bottoms-up program. And 1 million caring, so like I mentioned, 2014, we have reached 2.9 lakh citizens. And the project is aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals. Sorry, I missed the G part of it. Okay, so this is the kind of impact that we have created. Having said that, am I happy at this point of time? What kind of interventions do we still need to do? This is still work in progress, right? So typically we aim for children in the 4th and the 5th grade, and the friends in the family, and society and nearby community. And it's designed for energy, water, responsible consumption, fuel conservation, and sustainable living, right? And it is experiential, like with Parishar Asha's all programs. And there is a typical self-assessment tool, which is the Green Army report card that is given out. We went on to, formulate along with Parishar Asha Green Army family during the COVID time. And we tried in 2019-20 to launch a Green Army school program. But immediately after that, because of COVID, we could not continue this. And this program was designed on the philosophy of SDGs. Okay, so these are some of the pictures from the school. and some of the initiatives, right? So this was a Green Army family where the the school ecosystem which underwent a transition. Children restricted to homes, moved to online platform, and basically sustainable families as a unit, and therefore more reach, right? So these were online sessions. So I did a little bit of a mapping of the Green Army program and with sustainable development goals. So what are the goals that we aim to impact? If we start from the right side, healthy lives promote well-being for all ages, inclusive quality education through the environmental way of learning and understanding what actions you need to do. Water and water conservation is one of the modules in the workshops. Then we have primarily this workshop enables responsible consumption and production patterns, urgent climate action, because of course you have to be aware of the lights. The children are taught to switch off lights and appliances when not being used. Plastic and use of plastic, and therefore goal number 14, and therefore waste segregation, the 3 R's that are taught. And all of these help make the cities, human settlements, inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. So the kind of citizens that we are trying to make, caring citizens, help us realize this goal number 11, right? So we do get wonderful testimonials from the children and from teachers of this program, and for the all the programs that have been done online and offline, a lot of appreciation is received. But before that, I just want to show you something which is very interesting. I found, and it has nothing to do with Parisar Asha, but how children can teach their parents. So just bear with me for a minute. I hope. Yeah, so this is on Facebook. Yeah, I hope when I play, sound will be audible. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to share. Was that audible?
No, it wasn't audible, but we could make out from the visuals.
Okay,
That's
okay.
perfectly all right.
Yeah, so I'll stop sharing, and I can share that video. It was a very nice way of showing that how children can teach their parents how to become sustainable. And we do get a lot of testimonials from students and teachers. And I was thinking that if we can have more interesting ways of communicating, perhaps we can take the Green Army program to the next level. So environmental education per se is a must now, because the two main challenges, and if you look at the World Economic Forum's risk the risk report that is out, the top 3 challenges are climate inaction. The first one is climate inaction. So if you don't take action against the climate change problem, so that's the first problem. The second problem that we are dealing with is extreme weather. The third problem that we are dealing with is biodiversity loss. And these are the top 3 risks the world is facing at this point of time. And if we don't enthuse that much courage, and courage, why? Because it takes a lot to understand. Environmental problem is a systems problem, and it's about how you can enable and empower the children to be vocal at a younger age, to be able to figure out what can be the solutions, right? And And these solutions are not very difficult solutions. Most of these solutions existed, they are there, and it's just a better way of living. The choices that we are making. So should we be living in the village and have farming as a career option? And that's not a bad option, because food insecurity will set in with climate change and so on. So understanding and having that worldview, understanding that this is a wicked problem to solve, environmental education is a must, and therefore must be a part of every school, every child's curriculum. Yeah, so with that, I stop. And if there are any questions, happy to answer.
Yes, so thank you, Doctor. Aarti, do we have any questions for Dr. Sunita?
No, no questions, Sapna.
No questions? So I guess everyone was mesmerized with what she was talking about, and that was wonderful learning about Generation Alpha. And I could totally relate to it, ma'am, because I have 2 children and I can see them being conscious about the, climate, as you said, about what they consume and a lot of things there. Also, the Green Army program that we were talking about, Parisar Asha is extremely, proud to be associated with Mahindra and, as you said, 4th, 5th standard children. And that is the, kind of age where if we could inculcate the right values and, that could, what should I say, influence the behavior of the parents, as you said, so that was a wonderful video clip also, so with that, thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. And we are moving on to the next segment with the next speaker.
Sapna, we have to give her the certificate of gratitude.
Yes, I'm so sorry, I missed that. We are presenting Dr. Sunita Purushottam Certificate of Gratitude from Parisar Asha. Thank you so much, Doctor.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, so now with that, we are going to proceed to the next segment and with the next topic. And we are going to invite our next esteemed speaker for the day, Dr. Yatri Thakkar. Dr. Yatri is a homeopathic physician, mental health expert, and founder Baby and Me programs. She's been practicing in Mumbai since 18 years. Her holistic approach towards disease and understanding of mind-body connection sets her apart from others. She has written various health-related articles in Bombay Times, Femina, Wellness Times, and Mother and Baby magazine. Recently, she was awarded by Baby Chakra, an Indian health professional, for excellence in homeopathy. So we are extremely honored to have Dr. Yatri with us, and she is always obliged us being part of many Parisar Asha programs. So welcome, Dr. Yatri, and over to you for your topic, education and health.
Thank you so much, Sapna, for this introduction. And thank you, Aarti and team, for having me over. Firstly, I want to congratulate Parisar Asha for finishing 40 glorious years and spreading this empowerment of education to each and every person, children especially, from any social or economical background. That's awesome. All the best to all the awardees who are waiting for their announcement. So I think after me is when they're going to announce the awardees, so just hang on there. Well, today I was given a very beautiful topic which is very close to my heart, education and health. And what is the best time to talk about it? It is now, because we have understood the importance of health and education. We all have moved in a jet speed, learning new things about health during pandemic, and at the same time upgrading our educating skills through coming online, making it more interactive. So with that, I want to present a PPT. Can I share from here, or Aarti, would you be able to?
You can share, you are the co-host.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So as I was saying, the topic is health and education, which is so important in the present time of pandemic. And why is it so important? Let's try and understand the connection between the two. So the main connection is a good quality education is really the foundation of health and well-being. And for people to lead healthy and productive lives, they need knowledge to prevent sickness, major or small sicknesses and diseases. Now, health and education, they help empower not only individuals, but community and then per se the whole country to live their lives happily, improving their holistic approach towards well-being, be it physical, mental, social, or even economical, and therefore increasing their knowledge and influencing their attitude by taking care of their health and well-being. Of course, the present pandemic has surely taught us this beautiful connection between the two. Now, I feel the schools and the educators out there play a major role in bringing this connection between health and education. This can be achieved more effectively when it is taught by qualified teachers, connects students to health services, engages parents and community partners, and fosters positive relationships. Now, if the schools really concentrate on all of these 4-5 aspects, bringing education even to a lower socioeconomic child coming from that background to whatever background the child comes from, it becomes much easier. So I would urge the educators to focus on these 4 points. And finally, if you focus on these above 4 points, the 5th one can automatically influence the health outcome. Now, health outcome, of course, we have seen not only for pandemic, but also other health outcomes in reducing STDs or the sexual transferable diseases. They can be more knowledgeable about HIVs and in turn decrease substance abuse like tobacco, also improving the academic performance. So that's a major role the school and educators can play here. Now, when we talk about health and education, what I understood is there are these 4 major mediators between the health and the education and bring this connection. The first is, of course, economy, social, psychological and interpersonal, and the behavioral health. Let's try and understand, and I'll try and give examples in between. So the first is the economy. We know that economical variables such as income and occupation mediate the relationship between education and health by controlling and determining access to acute and preventive medical care. For example, we obviously know that more the educated a person is, better the chances of them getting better jobs, and in that way give better returns economically. But that in turn makes that person more available for taking better health care. So economy plays a good role as a mediator. Let's go to the social. Now, people who are well educated experience better health as reflected in high levels of self-reported health. And how is that possible? By lowering the levels of morbidity, mortality, and disability. All these 3 ways the social impact has. Let's understand the psychological and the interpersonal. Now, psychological and interpersonal resources allow people with different levels of education to access coping resources, problem solving, and cognitive abilities to handle ill health consequences, especially stress. Now, this psychological and interpersonal role plays a major role in pandemic right now. And my next slide onwards, I'll try and provide more information, what we can do about it, how we can take care of our psychological issues, and in turn help children. The 4th is the behavioral health. Now, healthy behaviors enable educated individuals to recognize symptoms of ill health in a timely manner and seek appropriate medical help. You know, just like we know that taking 2 vaccines might reduce the chances of you getting a major COVID infection. So that really enforces us to have a healthy behavior towards education and health connection. If you have any questions in between, I'm more than happy to answer. Okay. So as I was saying, that psychology is very, very important in understanding this role. And that is, what are our roles? So what I understand, presently we are going through pandemic, but if you kind of differentiate in details, there are three types of pandemics we are going through. So firstly is of course COVID-19, and thanks to the education or whatever medias we have used, people definitely know how to kind of prevent it: social distancing, sanitizing, good health, wearing mask, and so on and so forth. So I don't want to stress too much on that. The next pandemic, which I feel we are going through, is the global financial crisis. We are really seeing there are a lot of jobs out there which people have lost. There is no financial stability. That's causing a lot of grief and anxiety. People who have the jobs, they are so much enforced with so much work that they don't know how to cope. And of course, working from home has increased the chances of having that kind of stress. But if you see, the global financial crisis is worldwide. So one needs to really notice and be aware of. It's not that you as a person or you as an individual is only suffering. This problem is happening worldwide. And so don't restrict yourself from asking help. There are a lot of institutes out there, people out there who are wanting to give help in various ways, through food packages or through giving financial help, or even definitely free education out there. Okay. The third is the pandemic, which is the stress itself, which is really creating havoc in my understanding. And I'll try and explain more. So stress over here is just not acute stress. It is acute and chronic. Chronic is something which goes on for a longer time. It's been almost 2 years. We all are having this uncertainty about disease and health and what to do. But acute is, say, if a family member turns out to be positive and you get really panicked what to do. Or in that stress itself, you lose your job and then you don't know what to do. So that kind of acute stress is something that you suffer only for a short term or a short time. Now, what does stress do? So this stress, it actually decreases or compromises the capacity to deal with infection. And infection, and in turn, it increases the chances of falling more sick. So when we have stress, there are certain hormones which are released, like cortisol, adrenaline, which hampers our immune system and inflammation. So if a person is suffering from COVID, half of their stress, if it's on high alert, that creates more of inflammation and decreases the immune system. That in turn increases chances of the infection spreading. And there are these some kind of proteins called the cytokine storms, which are released due to stress. Now, this could be, apart from stress, a lot of other small factors which are also important, like lack of deep breathing, lack of sleep, lack of exercises, lack of emotional disturbances, or even financial crisis. They are all entangled between each other. So the key word here is, somehow we have to learn to deal with our stress, to make and bring that education towards the children and spread that education a little better. Now, exactly just like how a mother of a newborn child needs to take care of herself first, so that if she is fine, she can take more care of the newborn. The same way, the teacher or the educator needs to understand, to learn to cope up and manage their own stress. In turn, help children to deal with their stress and spread education more easily with a lot of joy and fun. So what do we do about this? There is a tip that I would want to give people. And it's very, very easy if you inculcate in your life, but on everyday basis. Okay. So because if you take care of your acute stress, in turn, your chronic stress is taken care of. And in turn, you start feeling happier and healthier. So what is this SCOP and what does it stand for? Managing stress actually starts with only these 4 letters if you manage it well. S. S is really stop. Stop if you have a thought of stress. When you immediately you have any unwanted thought, fear, disbelief, or you have low self-esteem, your body kind of becomes tense and it sends biological symptoms. At that moment itself, just stop. S for stop. T. T, when you stop your thought process, you know something is going wrong with you. T, take deep breaths and really deep breaths, like stop and take deep breaths and smile. Now, how is this going to help you? So when you take deep breaths, it stimulates your parasympathetic nervous system, which in turn takes care of the inflammation which is spreading around, or it actually counterreacts the sympathetic nervous system, which reduces the inflammation or chances of falling ill sick. Those deep breaths help you stimulate certain hormones, and smile, of course, is a change in your biological phase. You see? And you will notice this, that minute you stop and take deep breath, what will also happen, we'll go to O, you start observing your breath without any kind of judgment or analyzing why I'm having this thought or what is happening in my mind. Just observe your breath, those deep breaths. Now, how is this going to help you? When you observe yourself through a non-judgmental way, you will take care of 2 components, not only your mind, but also your body, because you have stopped that link between your thought and your mind by just not being judgmental and just quietly observing it. So O is for observing without judgment. And P, proceed, but with total awareness and compassion. Okay, let's start doing this STOP every day in our lives, and let's see the difference that we can make, not only dealing with our stress, but also in children's lives. I would say, why not try using this STOP technique with children too? They are fast learners, they are smart learners, and very, very easy to inculcate. Because lighting that one child with awareness and knowledge can actually lift the whole family, and in turn the community, in turn the whole world. This is how beautiful the connection between health and education, because we are the ones who have got that power to change the world. So I will leave you with these thought-provoking questions, which you can ask yourself every day without any judgment. Also can ask children to ask themselves, are you compassionate enough today? Are you a little more kinder to others than to yourself today? Are you grateful each day? How grateful are we? It will totally bring us in a gratitude space and throw away all kind of stress or disease which is going on in our mind. Are you contributing in others' lives? It's now a time to start contributing in others' life. In turn, see the amount of happiness you get. That itself will throw away all the diseases. And the last thought-provoking question is, are you spreading the light of knowledge, but with love and compassion? So with this, I would want to end my session. Thank you so much. Thank you, Aarti, again for having me over. Last few lines which I came across and I loved it. And something about knowledge. And it's actually a Sanskrit verse which says, Na choharyam, na cha rajharyam, na bhrata brujam, na cha bharakari, vyaye krute vardhate eva nityam vidyadhanam sarvadhanam pradhanam. It means it cannot be stolen by thieves, nor it can be taken away by the kings. It cannot be divided among brothers. It does not have a weight. If spent regularly, it always keeps growing. The wealth of knowledge is the most superior wealth of all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Yatri, for the wonderful presentation and the lovely mantra for managing stress, which was STOP. I'm sure all of us have made a note of that. And the questions, those thought-provoking questions that you put in, the last one, like, education definitely is a must, but teaching our children to be empathetic, it is the key, like love and compassion. I think that makes them beautiful individuals. So that the onus is upon us as educators, as parents, to take this forward to them. So thank you for that wonderful presentation, and we present to you the certificate of gratitude from Parisar Asha.
Thank you so
much,
much.
Dr. Yatri. It was really wonderful. Thank you.
It really means a lot to me. Thank you so much.
Yes, so thank you, Doctor. And with that, we are going to move ahead with the next segment and for the next topic of the day. And we are extremely honored to have with us today another esteemed speaker, who is Dr. Kairsy Chawda, the former president, Bombay Psychiatry Society, consultant psychiatrist at PD Hinduja National, Hinduja Healthcare, and Sir H.N. Reliance Foundation Hospitals. Dr. Chawda had been chairperson of the task force of the Indian Psychiatric Society, IPS, dealing with school psychiatry and counseling, member of task force of the IPS, dealing with ethical boundaries between clients. This is now being taken up by the IMC as guideline across Indian health services. He was the chairperson of the task force of the IPS dealing with the LGBTQ community. He managed to issue a position statement that was quoted in the landmark judgment by 2 of the 5 learned judges when they repealed the section 377. Was panel member of the IPS task force that laid down clinical guidelines for the treatment of autism spectrum disorders. Currently, chairperson of the IPS task force dealing with school psychiatry, as well as the advisory to the committee dealing with college psychiatry of the Indian Association of Private Psychiatry. He's been working more than 35 years in the field of his interest is kids. Had been part of the first panel of the Maharashtra government that had laid down concessions for learning disabilities in Mumbai. In 2021, Dr. Kairsy Chawda is a recipient of Dr. S.M. Lulla Oration Award. Doctor, we are extremely honored to have you with us today for the summit, and over to you for the topic, education and mental health.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to talk to people from a diverse background, and it's very special to me to talk to teachers because my mom was a principal of a school, so it's always lovely to talk to teachers and principals. When I was asked to talk about education and mental health, the thing that comes to mind, of course, is that it works both ways. If you're educated fairly well, your mental health is probably better. If you have a mental illness, it's going to affect education. So we have to look at it as a bi-directional process. And this is something that is so very important. Whenever we talk of India becoming a superpower, we are not going to become a superpower unless we look after our mental health. Our previous speaker did speak a little bit about stress and so on. Today, the latest stuff just seems to focus on genetics. It seems to focus on the fact that whatever be the external factors, the fact that 3 people, 5 people, 10 people facing the same external factors react differently to the same situation, it means somehow that there is some kind of affectation by the genes that they have. Whether we like it or not, mental health is going to affect about 25% of the population. So 1 in 4 people is going to have signs and symptoms which are severe enough to be actually classified as a mental health disorder. Stigmatization prevents these people from seeking help. And there's also obviously a paucity of resources. But the fact remains over here that education will make a difference. So what are the effects of mental health on education, on academics and school life? Very obviously, it can lead to academic problems such as poor attendance. There will be difficulty with academics. There will be poor social integration, trouble adjusting to school, problems with behavior regulation, and obvious concentration issues. Visualize the commonest psychiatric illnesses. We have depression, we have anxiety, there is OCD. Those are probably the three of the most common. And when we go ahead, you have a whole bunch of others, which include your addiction disorders, eating, sleeping, the major psychosis, etc., etc. The bottom line is each and every psychological, psychiatric illness is going to impact on academics. A lot of people anyway might not actually topple over because they have their inner resources which enable them to cope with whatever be the stresses they're facing, which enable them to cope with the basic stuff that is happening in their brains. COVID has been a terrible situation. Suddenly the external stimulus has increased to such an extent that a lot of people who are fairly balanced, who were in a fair state of equilibrium, suddenly have toppled over. People who were already taking help in the past have suddenly found that they need more medication or they need more therapy. So there's been a disequilibrium which causes a tremendous amount of problems. And we as educators, we as parents, we as people who care, caregivers, doctors, etc., are quite appalled at the amount of stuff that we are seeing which is related to mental health. Education is known to reduce the risk of poor mental health. And they've also found that these effects are much, much more for women. And they found that it is much, much more at the mid-level of qualification. It provides necessary awareness and resources for individuals. It seems to help to break stigma, and it promotes efforts for treatment and recovery. And over here, I must say that the present generation is terrific. There's so many adults who have come up to me very sheepishly saying, you know, doc, you gave a talk at my son's school, and my son came up to me and said, hey, you better go and meet this guy. There's something wrong with you. And it's wonderful. We are having issues related to mental health, which are now being discussed at home. However broad-minded we might have been in our past, it's very unlikely that at the breakfast table, mom and dad would talk about mental health. It's very unlikely that they talk about relationships. It's very unlikely that they talk about suicide. Today, it is so wonderful that a huge number of parents, a huge number of families are taking this up as breakfast conversation. And I think the more that we keep talking about mental health, the less it gets stigmatized and the more common it becomes. So I look forward to a state that it will be just as normal to go to a psychiatrist or a counselor as is to go to your family doctor. Causal relationships are notoriously difficult to establish. I mean, visualize that, you know, I sneeze and it rains doesn't mean that my sneeze is going to cause a rain. But if you're looking at causal relationships, one of the clearest indicators of life outcomes is education. It's one of the clearest indications of outcomes such as unemployment, such as income, such as social status. And when these three are affected so badly, very obviously, education then becomes a strong predictor for improved health and well-being. It is imperative that we keep our kids in school as far as possible, in some kind of college or in some kind of work situation where they learn a vocation. We cannot allow our kids to drop out of the education system. And there's a huge number now, in addition, because of all this online stuff going on, in addition to the economic divide, maybe the language divide and the cultural divide, we now have a digital divide, which is terrible, and we are facing it all the time. We all know that educated people have more choices. So they have better control over their lives. They have more security. More educated are able to learn usually much more than during their lifetimes than the people who are not educated. It goes without saying that a person who maybe has a PhD will probably learn more than a person who has a graduation, will probably learn more than a person who's a 10 standard pass. All of these things, unfortunately, are being even more obvious now because we have a huge population, maybe the unemployment figures are going up. So education plays an extremely important role. What happens when you have low education? One of the things that we often see is that there's a lack of control and there's often a reduced resilience to things that cause problems. There is also a lack of psychosocial resources, including the socio-economic status. I mean, even if you're just looking at COVID, which is so very recent and it's still going on, you have a house where maybe if there's only one room, maybe access to only one smartphone or something of the sort, and you have 3 people over there. Obviously, there's going to be a problem. So it works in terms of education becoming a problem, and it also works in terms of the problems associated with economy. It works in terms of the problems associated with mental health, because out of 3 kids, if only one can use the phone, the other 2 are going to get affected. They're going to get angry. They're going to get depressed. They're going to get anxious. They will face repercussions in school, even though it may not be of their doing. And all of that causes a tremendous amount of problems. We've always found that women are more at risk and the youngsters are more at risk when it comes to issues relating to education. If an older person who's retired and has a higher level of education, he's more likely to be able to enjoy his retirement more. And we sometimes forget about it. You know, the older person is not very important in the scheme of things. So we look at kids and we say, oh, they must do well. They're the future generation. They've got to do fantastically. We look at our workforce and we talk of people who are not attending college or people who are not, who are not attending work because of mental illness. Not too many people talk of the older generation. And we must remember that India has a huge population of the old. We have one of the largest populations of geriatrics. At one time, you were lucky if you lived till 60. Now everybody lives till 75 and 80. And if you're a Parsi like me, you don't die. So the bottom line is we live and we live and we live. And it's absolutely essential for us even to look at the mental health of the older person. And there are very well-established norms that point to the effect that if a person is well educated and he has had a good income, he's more likely to enjoy life better. He's more aware of the fact that dementia can come in, so he's going to use his cognitive skills better. And hence the progress of old age in a sense, of aging in a sense, comes under control just because he's better educated. Let's look at things now the other way. Supposing I have a mental illness, how is it going to impact education? And that's the other way we look at it. Like I started off by saying, about 25% of us are going to have some kind of psychiatric illness sometime. The commonest being depression, anxiety, and OCD, but we have a whole bunch of other things. We must also remember that it's very unlikely that we're going to be in some individualized silos and that we're just going to be, stuck in one thing. So very often you find a person who's anxious will also have signs of depression. A person who's depressed will have a whole bunch of OCD traits and so on and so forth. And all of these are going to have an impact on education. Students with anxiety disorders, for example, and we all have anxiety, they're less likely to attend classes. They're more likely to bunk. Not because they want to bunk, but because they're just so nervous about attending in class. People with social anxiety, they're just so nervous about maybe having to declaim in front of a class. And we just take it as, oh, the fellow's shy and he's this, that, and the other. But we don't really realize, and researchers now prove this, that they're less likely to attend classes. So there's more likely for less education, less knowledge to be imbibed. Those with social phobias are twice as likely to fail a particular grade. And that's a huge thing. Just because you're not taking treatment because of the fact you're socially anxious, it becomes a major problem. And for all of us who are very blit and who talk very happily in a crowd where we don't know, it is impossible for us to actually imagine what it could be like when a kid is having, or an adult is having social anxiety, when he's feeling that everybody's eyes are on him, when he knows it all and he knows what to say, but his mouth doesn't open and his heart is palpitating and his hands are shaking and he feels like he wants to run to the toilet. It is something that has to be dealt with. Bottom line, not even 20% or 30% of people who need mental health interventions actually seek it. So education is something that here will make a difference. People who are anxious, people who have social anxiety, there's less concentration in addition because there's just so much of this inhibitions that are coming in, so much of an overemphasis to the stimuli, so much of overthinking. Is he looking at me? Am I saying the right thing? Do I look stupid? Can people make out that I haven't shaved properly? All of these things, which we wouldn't even pay any attention to, become very ominous in a person who has anxiety. Because of this, there is reduced concentration. There is less filtering out of distracting external stimuli, and it becomes very difficult to do complicated tasks or multi-tiered tasks because you're just so stuck that you can't move forward. It prevents them from seeking or forming social connections. And one of the most important things, especially for adolescents, is the formation of groups. Now imagine that you're looking around and you're seeing your friends, they're dating, they have friends, they have groups who go out, they go out for a coffee, they go to the gym, they go and have fun. And here you're stuttering and stammering, and you know that nobody is really going to pay you that much of attention. Because let's face it, the normal adult, the normal teenager is a cruel man. He's not going to really give you that much of time. He's just going to go ahead and do whatever he wants to do. And if he asks you something and you're going to take 10 minutes to answer something very simple, he's going to turn and walk away, leaving you feeling even more bereft than what you already were. This is where mental illness comes in. This is where treatment for mental illness comes in. It is imperative to enable them to feel that sense of belonging and to feel that sense of being related to other people, which is the basis of all humankind and of all mankind. Let's talk of depression. That is the most common thing, a common psychiatric illness. We know that it can affect academic achievement. Sometimes right now I have a whole bunch of kids and adults coming up to me and they say they think they have attention deficit disorder. They've read Google, and Dr. Google is one of the biggest pains that we've ever faced. But anyway, they've read Dr. Google and they come to me and they say, Doc, I have attention deficit disorder. And we check them out and we find that they don't have attention deficit disorder. They have an incapacitating anxiety or depression and an emotional block. It's like an obstacle which prevents their cognition from really taking off the way it should. So you have the capacity, but because it's like an absolute obstacle, it's like something that's coming in the way. You're not able to focus on things. You're not able to remember. You're not able to reproduce. And even if you do remember and you do reproduce, unfortunately, the depression and the anxiety just prevents the normal flow of thoughts to happen, the normal answers to take place, and you'll end up not acting up to your potential. This then can start affecting academic achievement. People who are kids who are depressed so often have school suspensions because they sometimes don't attend school or college. The number of kids who, for example, have been sent back from abroad when they've gone alone in order to do a postgrad or something of the sort, and they just find they can't cope. They slip into a sense of depression, and then very often they don't attend classes, and their semesters are inadequate in terms of attendance, and then they're asked to skip a term and they come back, and then you just find that they're so severely depressed, which had never been looked at. One of the most important things we have to do is to accept that a psychiatric illness can affect anybody. It doesn't only happen to our neighbors. Periods of failure, periods of frustration, they lower self-concept in a person, so they have little sense of self-worth, and they're more likely then also to attempt suicide. We all know that when we are looking at suicide, the commonest age at which it happens is actually the adolescent. So it's a terrible indictment of our society that you have a 15, 16, 17-year-old kid who believes that the only way that he can survive is to not survive, who believes that the only way that he can cope is to kill himself. What are we doing to them? And one of the most important things over here is this feeling of denial. Oh, he's quiet, it doesn't matter. Let's take him out for a movie. Let's take him out for a show and everything will be fine. Oh, it doesn't matter, your girlfriend has ditched you, but there's so many other people and it doesn't matter, we never liked her anyway. Too bad, he did. What we need to do is to get into a situation where we accept that mental health is an extremely important aspect of our lives, where we accept that it's becoming more and more difficult for our kids, given the fact that competition is more, COVID is happening, our resources are becoming worse. We have some poisons, which I'm sure are causing a lot of problems in our air. When I was a medical student 40 years ago, we talked about the autism spectrum disorder affecting 1 in about 100 people. Today, we're talking of 1 in 49. What on earth is happening? There's obviously something happening in our environment which is causing this to happen. We do not pay enough attention to mental health. We do not pay enough attention to education, and this has to change. I'm going to conclude. I normally am very anal about time. I was told 15 minutes. I've done about 12. So what we are going to do is I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about the myths associated with medication and the myths associated with seeking help. Let's get something straight. If you have a problem and if you need medication, you need medication. It's very nice to do yoga, and it's very nice to do Reiki, and it's very nice to tie a taviz around your hand and have people with peacock feathers dance around you. It's not going to make a difference. If you need medication, you need medication. How long will you need medication? I don't know. Normally, depending on the situation, first episode medication, 9 months to a year of stability. Then we try to reduce it. 50 to 60% will manage okay. 40% may not, and then it stays for a longer time period. And then that's the end of the world, isn't it? Or you're addicted to medication. What happens when you have high blood pressure? You're taking medication for the rest of your life. Are you addicted to it? No, you're not. What happens if you have a thyroid dysfunction which has been diagnosed at birth? You're going to take a thyroid supplement for the rest of your life. Are you addicted to it? No, you're not. What happens if you have diabetes and you have to take medication? Are you addicted to anti-diabetics? No, you're not, but you're addicted to my medication. Why? Please, again, I'm not saying everybody needs medication. I'm saying if you need medication, you need it. Let's get over this thing of medication is bad, psychiatrists cause problems. There is no such thing as mental illness. The person is weak. Let's take him out for a holiday, all will be well. It's like saying, I've got a fracture of the hand. Let me do yoga and let me pray over it and everything will be fine. It's not going to happen. If you need psychiatric intervention, you need psychiatric intervention. To come back to mental health, one of the most important indicators, which is known to be associated with better mental health, is education. So we as educators, we as caregivers, need to support everything that is in our hands, everything that we can do, and enable our kids and maybe even our adults to get the best education that they probably can, to dispel ignorance, to dispel myths, and to make, hopefully, all of us live an absolutely proper and actualized life. I'm done.
Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Chawda, for establishing a connection between education and mental health and vice versa.
Thank you.
So that shed a lot of light on it. And definitely as educators, as you said, that, it's we who need to identify, and see whether our children or our students need help and do not hesitate to seek it. Am I right, Doctor?
Absolutely.
So
you knocked it on the head.
Yes. Thank you so much, Doctor. And
thank you, Dr. Sonali. She's just written a very sweet little comment. Thank you, Dr. Sonali.
Okay.
She said it was quite helpful. Yes.
Doctor, it was very helpful, and we have a lot of to take from there. So with that, Doctor, we present to you the certificate of gratitude from Parisar Asha.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure, and a special thank you to Ms. Asha. She's to Dr. Sabur. She's been absolutely gorgeous. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. We can ask if there is any question for Dr. Casey.
I've flawed them all. Apurva, thank you. Thank you for your kind comment as well. Yeah. Okay.
No questions for Doctor?
Yeah, Doctor. And
thank
sorry
you
for the little delay and.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Doctor. Thanks a lot.
Pleasure.
So with that, we are moving on to the most awaited segment of the summit, which are the Gloria D'Souza International Awards for Excellence in Education, isn't it? So yes, let me quote something. To the world, you may be just a teacher, but to your students, you are a hero. And rightly so, the COVID-19 pandemic saw the entire teaching fraternity come together and work towards continuing the education of students by adapting to the new method of online education. At Parisar Asha, we always believe that our teachers are the real heroes who can change the society, and hence, to encourage, applaud their good work in the school space, we started the Parisar Asha Gloria D'Souza International Excellence Award for Best School Educators in 2016. The award started in memory of late Ms. Gloria D'Souza, founder director of Parisar Asha, got overwhelming response, and the number of entries have gone up significantly over the years, making it the most sought after award in education. Here, we would like to mention that Parisar Asha is not involved in the selection process. As Aarti said, all the entries are judged by external jury of esteemed educationists, and their decision is final. We are announcing the results live, and I'm sure all the participants are looking forward to the announcement. The announcements will be made in 2 sets. So stay tuned and let's have the first set of awards. And over to you, Sukda, for the AV. So we would be having a huge round of applause for the winners. Let's have the AV, please. Sorry for the host, Father Russell D'Souza, Calmata English School, Alpil, Bhadra, and Nagar Haveli. Congratulations, Father Norbert D'Souza, Holy Cross High School, Kurla. Kala Zafar, Father Agnel Multipurpose School and Junior College, Vashi. Congratulations. Father Johnson S. Fernandez, Kakata High School and Junior College, Ambernath. Congratulations, Father. Is Bhavna Samir Trailokya, Maharashtra Vidyalaya English Medium School, Oregon. Heartiest congratulations. So those were the first set of awards, and we would be flashing a slide here wherein we want the winners to send us their complete addresses so that we could be sending you your trophies over there. So that slide would be showed at the end of the summit, right? Because we have one more set of awards coming up. Right, so with that, we are going on to the next segment. First of all, congratulations to all the winners. Heartiest congratulations and best wishes for many, many more achievements in the future. Right, so with that, we are going on to the next segment, wherein we are going to be having another speaker, but unfortunately, due to some circumstances, he couldn't be with us, and he has sent us his video, which is Dr. Samir H. Dalwai. Dr. Samir Dalwai is part of the State Pediatric Task Force. He's a behavioral developmental pediatrician and founder director, New Horizons Group. Dr. Dalwai has dedicated his career to deliver contemporary interventions to children with special needs and their families. He is the recipient of the Government of India's Rajiv Gandhi Manav Seva Award for Services to Children 2012. He leads a multidisciplinary team with 5 centers and an online intervention program for children with special needs. So we will be having doctor's presentation right now. So can we have that, Sukta? Hello. Sometimes you have to, yeah, there the presentation is coming up.
Good afternoon, respected friends, and I'm thankful to Parisar Asha for inviting me for their annual summit. And I'm very happy to make my presentation on this very important topic of education and inclusion. So again, thank you for the opportunity. And as we go ahead, my best wishes to Parisar Asha as they celebrate and complete their 40 years of a wonderful service to humanity and society. And I also pay my respects to the memory of Madam Gloria D'Souza for the amazing work that she initiated so many years back and which is being taken ahead by her colleagues today. When we talk about inclusion, we must understand it's not just a debate between whether it should be special schools or regular schools. It's not just a discussion on special educators or shadow teachers. Unfortunately, what I see is that inclusion has become a package by itself. It has become a project by itself, and it has become a patch by itself that we need to take it and put it where something is torn. It's not that at all. It's an evolving process by itself, in fact. And it's about early and appropriate intervention for the child rather than just initiating a set of things in the classroom like some special chairs or putting a ramp. That's not inclusion. Inclusion is appropriate and early continuing intervention which involves parents and the neighborhoods and the schools, not just the schools, mind you. It requires all of us to publish evidence-based research on what we are doing that is working and spreading the correct message, as well as success stories of children which we have, which we can share. We need to look at how the media is advocating and taking this information ahead. And we need to also look for advocacy in terms of existing laws and provisions for people with disabilities. The important part to understand is why do we end up excluding people? That's because we have a very rigid idea of what is typical and what is not typical. And those who are not typical, we try to make them as typical as we want them to be, like the other typical children. So we are not basically attuned to dealing with differences in life. Our brain also works in a typical way to recognize typicality and to behave typically with the typically recognized people. We are not attuned to dealing with the differences. And this doesn't go well because they aren't used to dealing with our methods either. So there is a complete mismatch, and the mismatch is not from the child's side. It is as much from our side, perhaps even more, which is why the exclusion actually starts in our own brain first, and then it gets extended to society. So we end up thinking, unfortunately, that they require something special because that doesn't fit into our typical thinking and our typical training and our typical ability. So because they are atypical, we think they require something special because we can't deal with this. Very often I found people being very, very so-called sympathetic and empathetic, saying, no, we'll be doing them a harm by keeping them in a regular school. I don't think I'm good enough to deal with them. So let me send them to Send them to who? Somebody worse than you. How do you know that you are sending them someplace that they are better than you? So it's basically an excuse that we want to get rid of them. And this is what I call the mental exclusion, because we send them into corners, resource room, different open houses, different SOPs, counselors, therapists, doctors, etc. And this is exactly what happens. We think we are sending them somebody better, but very often we just end up excluding them because we don't allow them into the circle of what we call typical. Or if we think a little bit too highly of ourselves, we think, okay, we are allowed them, but within our own classrooms, our own schools, we create a bubble. But actually they are excluded. This is a worst form of exclusion because we are trying to show to the rest of the world. And unfortunately, even we are under the delusion ourselves that we are doing inclusion. We are not. We are doing the worst kind of integration. Well, none of us want to accept segregation because it looks so bad politically for ourselves. But what is extremely important is to understand that there is no differentiation between those who are typical or who may be so-called atypical. They're all the same to you. You put them under the same umbrella and do with them the way you would behave with others. That is true inclusion. And unfortunately, the separation first happens in our mind. And that's how, even though we may claim that they are part of inclusionary process, they are not. Because in our mind, we have separated them. And then we end up doing that physically to them. So hence, when we look at all this, let's first start with understanding what is an ability. This is a man who can walk. So is walking an ability? Well, perhaps yes. What if a person who cannot walk? Does that mean he is disabled? Well, by the current definition, yes, because he's using the wheelchair. But the most important intervention is providing the wheelchair. Because the moment you provide the wheelchair, both these guys are the same. Because the moment you provide a wheelchair, both of them can perform the function of the functionality of walking, that is basically to go from one place to the other. So whether he goes by using his legs or by using the wheelchair, the functionality is achieved. He can go from one place to other. And hence, providing the wheelchair was the most important ability from our side that was needed, where we are the ones who are providing the ability, and hence thinking of providing a solution or an opportunity those who cannot. And hence inventing the wheelchair actually is the ability of ours that is very important, that should be focused on, not the disability of the person to be able to move from one place to other. So hence at New Horizons, we have this concept that disability exists in the mind of the person who thinks somebody else is disabled. If you are not so disabled, why can't you provide a solution? If you can't provide a solution to others' problem, then you are the one who's disabled, not they. So how do we do that? We need to understand that development is a process. If somebody has a disability, it is not a one-time thing. It has been the result of a process, and this process began at conception. And this process was and is and will be dynamic. What do you mean by dynamic? You must understand that any process like this, whether we call it a handicap or an impairment, has two parts. One, it is influenced by biology, which in simple words is what nature has done. But even more important is influenced by environment, which is what we, the others, do to them to influence their problem or to influence their betterment. And hence the process is dynamic, not fixed, because nature's role is fixed. That's a small part. But what we do, whether we do good or we do bad, is the dynamic way that we can actually influence this process of inclusion. So what do we need to do? First, like we said, stop mental exclusion. So the inclusion does not start with what we do for others. Inclusion starts with what we do for ourselves by stopping the mental exclusion, that in our mind, changing our thinking that they are different from others, changing this thinking about typicality and atypicality. So this change has to start in our mind, improving ourselves, and then we decide what do we change ourselves to help them better. So inclusion is basically an attitude of ours to have a particular outcome, and that outcome and attitude will come only if we struggle with ourselves and our prejudices that, hey, this is typical, this is atypical. We need to dissolve this boundary between typicality and atypicality, which is nothing but our prejudice that those who are atypical will always be in a certain matter and will not be able to do things which typical developing people are. This is development of ourself, evolution of the self. And that's why I've taken the last 5 minutes to show that inclusion is not something that you do to others. Inclusion is something which you are doing a benefit and a favor to yourself by getting better yourself, evolving yourself as a better and a more intelligent human being. So at the core of inclusion lies the equitable treatment of all citizens, not equal, which can't say that I'm just providing the equal rights to everybody. That doesn't help. For example, look at this picture. On the left-hand side, this is what is equality. Everybody will get the same thing. Everybody will get the stool of the same size. But the child who's tall doesn't need that. Whereas a child who's not tall enough doesn't benefit by giving him that same equitable treatment as a tall child. Whereas look at what is on the right side, that is equity. Taking away from those who don't need something for an additional advantage and giving that extra additional advantage to somebody who really, really needs it. And now when you see, the best part is all three friends can enjoy the match. So it is not that you have taken anything away from the guy in the blue shirt. It's actually you have allowed all three of them to enjoy the match and grow typically. And that is what we should be doing in the classroom. So to treat all equally would either mean wheelchairs for everybody or spectacles for all. Like some of us are wearing glasses, some are not. Equality will be all of us wear glasses or all of us take off our glasses. That doesn't make any sense at all. And hence, this is the first evolution that we need in ourselves to understand understand what is equal for others is simple. But to understand what is equitable to others requires you to evolve your own self. And hence, that needs effort from your own side. So what are some practical fundamentals of inclusion? How do you begin with inclusion? Assess what the child can do, the ability of the child, rather than what he cannot do, that is a disability. Because when we look at child development, development is defined as the acquisition of new talents and the new skills and new things that the child can do. So it is the acquisition of new skills and new functions. That is development. So development is based on acquiring something new, which is basically the ability and not disability. And hence we need to identify what the child can do. And hence we need to start with what the child can do, not what he's supposed to do depending on his age or the classroom in which you find this child. So the biggest error is we start thinking, okay, this child is in class 3. Let me see what I can do to include this child in class 3. That's an error. That is a worst form of exclusion. What you need to do is, okay, it doesn't matter which class the child has reached because of government rules or whatever. Let me see what he can do. Can he read class 3 level? No. Let me try class 2. Can he read class 2? No. Can he read class 1 level? Yes, he can. So let me start with helping him do better at class 1 and do not go ahead until he does that well. That is, how do you know that he's doing it well? How do you know that he's a master? If he can read class 1 independently without much help, if he can do class 1 math or any kind of work without much help, then you will go to class 2. And that is what is very important, because the whole idea is to not go to class 3 unless he is a master at class 2. If he is not a master at class 2, try about class 1. Unless he becomes a master at class 1, do not start with class 2. Do not start with class 3. If you do that, that is only patchwork, which is not inclusion at all. It is worsening the exclusion. Moreover, assess what the child likes, because if the child is able to like what he's doing, then emotion always enhances performance. There's that extra oxytocin release. And hence, this again is tied up with ability. Because very often you will like what you can do and you will not like what you can't do. So it's very important to go back here again and start at the level that the child is. So incorporate a lot of what he likes, which is almost the same as what he's able to do, till he becomes a master at it. And he'll do that a little faster because he's liking doing it. And then make the child do what you need to do. The very important to allow the child to try. Very often we have a household where everything is done for the child because he's so-called special. You don't expect the child to do anything. You don't make him do anything. How will he start to be able to do anything for himself? So start making him do what you need to do by starting with what she can do. If she can take a towel to the bathroom every day before she takes a bath, make sure that your child carries a towel to the bathroom. Many parents get shocked when I tell them this. Does your child carry the towel? No, doctor, hum hi towel rakh dete hain. Why? Does your towel weigh 10 kilos? No. Can she carry the towel? Oh, well, I guess she can. We never tried. Why not? And the moment you see that she can carry the towel to the washroom or to the bathroom every day, make sure every day you make her do it. Because that is what is actually going to give her the confidence as well as enhanced ability. At the same time, incorporate what the child likes to do and give enough practice until she does that very well. Unless she has mastered that, she can do it independently. Do not go ahead until she does. There is no time syllabus. Oh, I have to finish this in 1 month. I have to finish that in 2 months. I have to reach here in 3 months. That is the death knell of inclusion. Do not ever look at the time or a syllabus in terms of the months to go ahead. You have to look at where the child is and how the child is progressing. And hence, how do we do and how do we carry out inclusive education? Most important, as we mentioned, be ready to change. Educational best practices are not written in stone. They keep changing and you need to be open to that. And from there will come the accommodations and the adaptations that the children need to be able to be given an equitable treatment, like we mentioned earlier. So all children in the same classroom, in the same school, actually is real learning opportunity for those groups who have been traditionally excluded. And at the same time, bringing them into the classroom helps children who are part of the classroom also to learn from this diversity that comes in with this group. And at the community level, we need to explain to the parents that, hey, look, getting a child who's a little disadvantaged is not going to worsen your child who's so well advantaged. In fact, it's going to help your advantaged child to learn better what is disadvantage and how others are tackling it. That actually helps your child get better. I hope that makes sense. What does it mean? We abandon the idea that children have to become, no, first the child has to catch up, then I can take him into my normal school. First your child has to do better, then we'll call him for the birthday party. That is wrong. Instead, we need to look at and nourish the gifts that are inherent in all people and enjoy that so that all of us can learn from each other. There are many such adaptations available, for example, for children with ADHD, with inattention, one assignment at a time, avoid multitasking, break down the content and worksheet into smaller parts, give clear, concise instructions so that the child is able to follow, allow extra time, students should sit with a buddy, keep them away from the door or the window. Now, all these are available. Unfortunately, the problem is that inclusion, the understanding of inclusion starts with such charts, not at all. It has to start with what we discussed earlier, and hence make teaching and learning accessible to all by using multiple strategies to present content like case studies, role play, music, cooperative learning, hands-on, field visits, web-based communication. Different children will learn differently. Similarly, the learning context, either they learn as individuals, some part they can do in pairs, some in group work, some in distance learning, some with peer learning. And we have to understand to provide cognitive support. And here the work of Lev Vygotsky, who according to me is the best psychologist ever in the form of his studies on scaffolding, is the most important thing that I would request all of you to really look at in great detail, because this scaffolding is what is most important for inclusion. Similarly, variety of learning styles, flexible opportunities for assessment. Everybody can't be given the same exam paper or can't be tested in the same way. And we can always use technology to combat these limitations for our children. So many strategies in the classroom, like certain physical structures which make it easier for everybody to move around. Recording the classes so students can hear them later using auditory techniques. They can dictate their responses rather than writing down. They may be given additional time, reduce distractions in the classroom, hearing aids. I'm sure all of us know how much it helps. But the most important adaptation is by fostering a feeling of inclusion and diversity, embracing diversity as a positive ideal in the classroom. When it comes to parents, probably it presents the most important challenge. Whereas again, the same thing works. Oh, your child is atypical, but the parent is not understanding that he's atypical. Never try to make them understand, but we need to try and understand what the parents are thinking. And if they don't seem to understand, look beneath the surface. This parent, you are trying to break your head, thinking, oh my God, I have to break my head. She doesn't understand. Actually, it's a parent who's already perhaps lost 2 children in childhood. For her, this child who may not be speaking is still a gift from God because she lost 2 children in pregnancy and early childbirth. For her, this may be a gift from God, and she does not seem to be too unduly worried about it, whereas you are, because you have to complete the syllabus. So you need to look beneath the surface. And hence, listening to the parent is half the counseling. Your patience is the 1/4. And the strategies that you are dying to give, which you heard in the latest lecture somewhere else, are only 1/4 useful in the long run. So when it comes to the child and the parent, share what you have done in the class. That's the most important thing that the parents want to learn is what did you do before giving me a lecture? What have you done with the child in the classroom? And say that, hey, when I did this, the child responded so much better. The child did so many things better. So these are the positives, the good takeaways. But then go on to say that how you think that these can be maximized at home and how the parents can use your own techniques at home to do better. Because inclusion begins at home. You have these children who are not asked to do anything at the house at all, and then you are expected to cause inclusion in the school. That's not happening. So start by counseling and requesting the parents to involve the child in all tasks at home. Like small, meaningful instructions. Bring the plate, bring the glass. Can you give me a spoon? Keep the mat back. All these simple things, getting the child to do his own things, brushing his teeth, washing his mouth, attending to his potty, taking a bath, carrying his own towel, all the time showing appreciation for every small thing that the child does and making the child interact meaningfully and purposefully. And according to me, there's a huge debate on which is the best school in Bombay, and every year awards are given. But the true global school is actually your neighborhood, because this is where your child learns how to deal with uncle, auntie, cousins, neighbors, different religions, different cultures, different backgrounds. This is actually the child's true development. And learning to share is actually the most important curriculum, which first your child has to learn in the house, your child has to learn in the neighborhood. The school teacher can't teach your child all this because that is actually your house and in your own neighborhood. So if you are talking about inclusion, we cannot ignore the aspects of the home. And these are the examples of wonderful kids who are now all about 20, actually can't call them kids anymore, but who have been children with me right at the beginning of my career, maybe 18, 19 years back. And as you can see, most of them are now over 18, 19, 20 years old. And these were all children with whom we worked with the family, empowered and enabled the parents to actually work with them. And today, all of them, in fact, this girl is actually pursuing a career as a clinical psychologist. So these are all the success stories that we need to share with everybody, that every child can do better. That's our slogan at New Horizons. Provided we focus from label, we move to enable. So inclusion is not a policy for discussion for neurodevelopmental disorders. Neither is it just a government policy, though of course that's part of it. But inclusion is a bent of mind of the entire society, an attitude and a dynamic process, not a situation or just an appliance or an act of government. I would like to acknowledge the presence and the work of my wonderful colleagues all across our 5 centers at New Horizons. My colleague, Dr. Manish, Dr. Hila, who helped me with this presentation, and the hundreds of therapists and team members and psychologists and doctors, and the thousands of parents I've had the opportunity to learn from across all the years, so much so that all this learning can now be distilled even into an online support service for children and parents. And we have children with autism from faraway corners of the country as well as the world who just by coaching the parents on these basic fundamentals are doing so much better than years and years of intervention and therapy. So thank you again to Parisar Asha, Ms. Aarti Sabu, all my fellow colleagues from Parisar Asha, all the other teachers, educationists, doctors available attending today's session. Thank you once more for a very patient participation by all of you. Thank you very much.
So that was a wonderful presentation by Dr. Dalwai. Each slide was so very important, and I'm sure a lot of things to take from there. You know, the best that I loved about the presentation was the equality and equity part, so beautifully explained. So the topic was education and inclusion, very well, you know, taken up by Dr. Sameer Dalwai, and we present to him the certificate of gratitude from Parisar Asha. Yeah, so thank you, Dr. Dalwai. Thank you so much. And with that, we are going to move ahead with one more topic, which is going to be very interesting because there are a lot many educators, but also parents today at this summit, right? So over to her for her topic today. We now invite our next esteemed speaker, who is Dr. Sonali Geet. She's the Chief Academic Officer, TIPS Group of Schools. Dr. Sonali Geet is an experienced educator working in the field of curriculum development, faculty training and teaching for IB, CBSE, IG, and Cambridge boards. She has conducted various workshops and seminars pan-India, which have helped many educators in understanding the latest trends in education. So we are extremely honored to have Dr. Sonali with us over here, and her topic too is very interesting. It is the role of parents in the new normal. So over to you, Dr. Sonali, and right at the beginning, I would like to thank you for your valuable presence. You've always obliged us. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Sapna. And it has always been my pleasure actually to come over there and meet all of you and spend some time with you all and take so many things away from you all. That means learnings basically. And thank you, Aarti, and congratulations to all of you, and a happy Makar Sankranti to everybody over here, and Makar Sankranti, Lohri, whatever we celebrate, Pongal, because over here in Coimbatore, we are celebrating Pongal big time. So yes, on that note, I would like to start this, very important topic. But before that, I really wish that, this pandemic has not come and all of us should be meeting in person and spending time together, looking at each other's faces, because, just talking to the screen is always very difficult. And this is what I think we have all been doing for over two years almost now. This will be almost like a third year in continuation. So it is really very difficult, and it is not only difficult for us, but for the children as well as, and as parents, it is even more so difficult for all of us. So in today's role, we will be discussing a little bit about the role of parents in new normal, and I'll try to keep it very concise. Basically, when we are talking about the role of parents, I think we all must understand that, technically what we are actually looking at and what are the things which impact our role as a parents. So the first and the foremost thing I'll say that, our role as a parent is shaped by our beliefs, perceptions, and maybe experience. Because, what are our beliefs today, whether we like it or not, or whether we believe in that or not. So whatever may be our beliefs, whether meeting people, not meeting people, sitting with people, being online, not being online. So what is our belief about that? The second thing is perception, how we are taking it. As we say, glass half full or half empty. So this is your perception. So if you think of it as an opportunity, yes, it might be an opportunity, but in some cases, it might be a huge challenge. So that is also there. So that is another thing which shapes our role as a parent. And also it is our experience. When we talk about experience, we think about how we have so far come far in life. That means the kind of challenges we have faced, the kind of life experiences we have had. So will we be able to tackle this new challenge or not? So life experience actually teaches us a lot. And having said so, what I will also talk about is that, the research has always shown basically that if the parents are involved in the education of their children, the children actually gain 3 points. One of them is that, they are more engaged with their schoolwork. So whatever they are doing in the school, if the parents are involved, the children will also be involved with them. And then they stay longer in the school. That means they will be able to attend. And if we talk in terms of online, if you are engaged with them, then they will be online more often. They will be maybe like, opening their and showing their face and, maybe attending the classes more long. And then the third is that, maybe they achieve in terms of academics, because, it is all helping them out. But again, having said so, all these issues can be thought from the perspective of the normal parents, like middle class parent or upper middle class parent. The next problem comes from the parent side is that, what is their socio-economic background or the status, which influences the parent skills, like, whether they are, how quickly they can adapt to a new situation when it is something technical, and their knowledge background, because if something happens, will they be able to teach their children or not? Because that is also another challenge, because so far the teachers will be doing their duty online, but online catering to each and every individual one now may not be possible. So a lot of homeschooling has to happen. So how that they will be able to do. And then after that also the parents' energy level. We need to keep track of parents' energy level, that, if they are into some physical kind of a work, maybe like, working in some kind of a daily job routine, then how they will be able to come back and still listen to the children, what they want to say. Okay. And apart from that, if we talk about it, then, it will be another thing is that, time constraint, that they will be having their own work, and then they will be also engaging themselves into the education of their child. So how they will be able to balance that out. Another flip side to it is also that, how far the schools will be involving the parents, because that also we need to look into, and depending upon that, the parents also have to be reciprocating the same amount of engagement to them also. Because what I have seen is that, somewhere if you talk about the school's local environment, where the parents will be more than eager, I should say, they'll be very enthusiastic to participate in the education of their child, but many of the schools, they do not allow that kind of a participation. So that also needs to be looked into, or that needs to be settled. And on the flip side, other side, there are certain parents who may be called as helicopter parents. Helicopter parents means like, helicopter keeps on hovering over your head full time, right? It doesn't go. So that is how these parents are, who are completely engaged with their child's work, daily routine and everything. And they will talk to the teachers in between the classrooms. I don't know, so many of you are teachers. I'm pretty sure during the online classes, either the grandma came and spoke something, and or else they started talking about their family thing and how they are not able to do so, or able to do so, or why that teacher is doing like this and my child is. All the stories are normal, and that is happening everywhere, in the elitist of the schools as well as in the most common state board schools. Okay, so you need not worry. That is what I'll say, that as a parent, when we look at it, and as a teacher, when we look at it, the stances are a little bit different. So as a parent, what we understand is that, we need to listen, as, the previous, my successors have also said earlier, that we need to listen to them first, and then try to make sense of them. And for the parents, if we want to say that, then I will say that, do not become helicopter parent. Look, balance your work and your home life, because you are still inside, and the child is also inside this classroom, and both of them are trying to resonate with each other. So let there be a music rather than a kind of a fight constantly happening over there. So create some music along with your child. Be over there available, but do not interfere as a parent into their day-to-day proceedings. Also give them space, because as you do not have space, same thing the children also do not have space anymore now. Okay, they are also in that particular room for the 24/7, and so are you. So how you require your space, your children also will be requiring their space. And then after that, always there are some things which I would like to say, that find a reason to laugh along with your children, find a reason to love your children, because there will be so many things which we may not be able to do. And on top of that, find a reason to live along with your children. Okay, these are some of the things which I will say that are the most important which a parent should do. Okay, apart from that, while just talking to them, read books with them, find out what actually they are reading nowadays, or what kind of a social media they are going on, learn from them. And there are 2-3 books I would like to recommend even to the parents also, which are very old books but fantastic books. These are Diva Swapna and Mata Pita Ke Prashna by Dijubai Badheka. He was a Gujarati writer, but wonderful writer who has done a lot of work in the field of education. And his books are kind of a school in itself. So very simple, very thin, and I think 40 pages all books, both the sides together, I should count that. Mata Pita Ke Prashna. And this has been translated into various languages as well. So you may find it in English also, Marathi also, and Gujarati it was originally written. And Diva Swapna. They are all about parenting and how we can, while cooking, we can teach them mathematics, learn an instrument with the child, because now this is the time when we all can actually work with the children or be with the children and spend some quality time with them. And why try new recipes with the children, and then get engaged into their life. Well, after saying all of this, I would just like to share one anecdote that while I was all thinking about all of this, I was writing down points that what I can speak and how I can talk about parenting. My daughter came near me and she just asked, "Mom, what are you doing?" So I said, "I'm just kind of making some points regarding like how the parenting should be and how it should be." So she started laughing actually, and she says, "Don't you think the first thing what you should do is go and ask your children what they want?" And I was like, yes, taken aback. I said, yes, all this what we have done so far in theory is fine. But the first and the foremost step is do talk to your children what they want. Do talk to your children and see that, what are their expectations. Okay, talk to them and find out, give them space, make them what she said was that, they should feel safe to come and talk to you, share their problems. They should feel safe that, you will not reject them. You will listen to them. And during these pandemic times, this is the most important takeaway for the parents, I will say. The rest all can be in theory, but in practical, it could be go and talk to your children. Find out what they want. Give them space. Listen to them. Learn to communicate with your children. I think that should be the takeaway as a parent for me, because this also gave me also an insight into that how to deal with my own child. That is all I would like to say to all the parents and all the teachers over there, that at most important is always talk to them, listen to them, and understand what they want. Not always think that what you think is right is actually right for them. Let them have their perspective. I think that is all I would like to say, because, along with all of this, this was something which hit the nail for me. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, team.
Dr. Sonali, I think you nailed it, because many a times, we are trying to find out solutions to so many things, but by simply talking, so many things can be resolved. And as you said, the perspective, like many a times we think with our point of view, but, giving them the space, talking to them is going to help a lot, many problems. I wouldn't even say problems. They are not problems in the first place. They are just issues which can be just talked about and solved. Isn't that so?
Absolutely true.
It is
Absolutely true.
Complicated, I think, at times,
right.
Like these big jargons to it and stuff like that. And I think
Absolutely.
yes, ma'am. And I think parenting is a journey. Like you learn so many
Absolutely.
things as you are growing along with your child.
And I think, like, in parenting, you learn from your, children. That should be the best part of it, because, you grow with them, you learn from them, and then you become friends, because now it is not about only telling them, but also listening to them and learning with them. Yeah.
Exactly,
Thank you,
ma'am.
Swapna. Thank you for
Exactly. So thank you for that wonderful session, ma'am. It was really heart to heart, and I'm sure so many parents over here. So we had a lot to learn from that. So with that, we present to you the certificate of gratitude from Parisarasha.
Thank you.
Aarti, any questions for Dr. Sonali? Any questions for Dr. Sonali?
Unmute, please, Adi.
No question.
I think all of us were just listening to your advice. So thank you. And with that, we move ahead to the last topic of the summit today, but the most important, I would say, as there are so many educators over here. So our next esteemed speaker for the day is Dr. Dhirendra Kumar Mishra, who is the founder of Life Educare. Dr. Mishra is an educator who believes that a teacher is the biggest differentiator in a student's life. He has had a total experience of 20 years in the field of education in various capacities, and it was 10 years as a teacher to the core. He holds a doctorate in business management from Bhopal University and is also trained by the University of Cambridge to teach its courses. He has trained more than 4,500 teachers in various parts of the country. His advisory for private universities in the initial stages of formation has come in handy for the universities. So we are extremely honored to have Dr. Mishra with us on the summit today. And the topic is very important, which is NEP implementation. So over to you, Dr. Mishra.
Thank you so much, Sapna ma'am. First of all, my apologies to everyone that I'm not in my office or at my home to address you all here. I actually went through COVID last week, and then my travels were lined up. So I am traveling somewhere in the outskirts of Bhopal, and I thought I will join this meeting via from my car rather. And this is a boon what we got during COVID, that wherever you are, you can always catch up on your work as well as do your personal work as well. And I call COVID-19 or year 2020 as the greatest teacher of my life. I think all of us have learned a great deal of things which otherwise we thought would never happen. So thank you so much for calling me here. Thank you, Aarti ma'am, for reaching out to me and giving me this opportunity to present my views on implementation of NEP 2020. And I was seeing that there are a few parents here as well. That's what I was hearing. And probably my presentation was for educators, but I think I will include the parents as well. And this is one statement that I make for all the parents, is that let your kids be what they are, rather than trying to make them this or that, let them be what they are. So we'll add that part as well in my presentation. So I would want to rather, I have a very short presentation where, I would want this to be more of an interactive thing. If somebody has a question, they can type in the chat box, and I would take it in the end, or maybe as and when I feel that we can take these questions. So it's a very small presentation, more of interaction rather than just a one-sided presentation. Yeah. Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is visible.
Just give me 1 second. I think I'll have to. So this was a small presentation that I made when my company Life Educare, completed 10 years. And that's where I think somehow somebody told Aarti ma'am that I could be adding value here on this topic. Thank you. So see, I think, right between the pandemic, when we were struggling even to go through the online classes, prepare for online classes, both parents as well as teachers and the school management, we were, thrown a bomb, NEP 2020. And a lot of us felt, why, this policy has come. Somewhere in August 2020, the policy came in, and we were all thinking, why has this happened? Now we have to prepare for this. I think COVID has done a lot of disruption in education, at least in school education, wherein, a lot of us who used to tell our teachers, as well as, we used to talk as parents that, kids should go away from the digital devices. We were all forced to even, run the classes online. So during that disruption, I think, government thought that, the easygoing school fraternity is already disrupted. Why not to, give them one more disruption? And I personally feel during COVID, this policy coming in would really help us to kind of, come out as better schools, offering better practices, because we, I think, as educational institutions, were ready to change, to any extent, to kind of, suit the learning environment. So I think that's the reason why this policy, to me, looks like, a policy which is well timed. Now, a lot of people have already spoken a lot. If you Google NEP 2020, you will have a lot of videos, you'll have a lot of, presentations, a lot of information on the policy says this, the policy says that, you need to do this, you need to do that. Now, I have tried to simplify this to the best possible, understanding what I have. And this is the only slide that I have. After this, the slide says, any questions? So as we all know that this policy was, called as 5+3+3+4. The early years, that is nursery to grade 2. And then primary years, which is grade 3, 4, 5, then 6 to 8 and 9 to 12. Now, I feel that there are 6 areas where, things are going to change. One is pedagogy, then comes the infrastructure, teachers, the process, what a school has, assessments, how the kids are assessed, and the last thing, but very important, is the fee structure. Nobody has ever spoken about the impact of the new education policy on the fee of the school. Will it go up? Will it go down? Or will parents need to pay more? That is something which I have tried including. I don't know how far I'll be able to justify and answer all this. These are because since the policy document is not out, the curriculum document at least, so a lot of us are trying to predict how the policy is going to go. So for me, early years is something which is going to benefit a lot. First thing, I'm happy is that at least now the government recognizes nursery, K1 and K2. Otherwise, in our education system, education used to be from grade 1. That's why grade 1 was grade 1. So government has recognized. So in terms of pedagogy, I see that now, a lot of material is going to be available. Indianized material is going to be available. The practices, the best practices, people are going to share, organizations are going to share, government is also trying to, work very hard and come up with certain, pedagogical interventions, based on your, I would not want to go in detail in the policy, but yeah, the pedagogy, the way, because, preschool used to be something where, kids will go to a place, be there for 2.5, 3 hours, they'll sing, dance and come back. That was the case in the major preschools in India. I know there are a lot of preschools who do exceptionally good job. But what I'm trying to share here is the, general things what were happening. So I think pedagogically, with the government trying to bring in teacher training courses, I see that the pedagogical advancements are going to happen even at the grassroots level. Some state governments and private people have already started training teachers on early years. Second thing is infrastructure. When it comes to preschools, there were no infrastructural norm. I think along with the policy, there would be certain norms which will come up. Schools which are already there, they might have to go through certain infrastructural changes in their preschool offering. Teachers, yes, teachers are going to be trained a lot, because a lot of private state boards and boards like CBSE and ICSE, they have already started teacher training. So early years, yes, there'll be a lot of hand holding and teacher training that is going to be required. And that is the most important thing. I think all of us should really invest in teachers training. And the processes, there could be guidelines as to how a preschool has to run, what kind of hygiene standards, what kind of dealing, what kind of people can be there in a preschool. All these processes might be defined the way it is defined for our other regular classes as of now, grade 1, 2, 3, 4. So some procedural changes are also going to come. Assessment, yes. Preschool assessment is something which has varied assessment parameters. So government has said that the literacy, numeracy, and language development and all. So I think there'll be some standard assessment that are going to come. And I think when it comes to assessment in preschools, so we set up schools. So we have set up a school in India where we also have these tools where a child is running. So speed guns, right? Speed guns are very popular with the transport department. RTO officers, they have a speed gun at the road. So maybe you can have a very small speed gun in your school, and probably month by month or term by term, you can also record what is the speed of a child. When a child runs, what is the speed? So there are organizations, schools which are trying to go to the last mile and see how holistic assessment they can have. Checking the muscle power of the child, the strength what the child has, the speed at which a child can run, and a lot of medical and developmental indicators are also going to come. And probably there'll be a race to kind of do better in terms of preschool assessment. And I think all of us should start preparing for assessments. And fee structure, what I feel is that fee structure is going to really go slightly high. There could be maybe 10 to 15% upward increment in the fee structure if we have to implement NEP in early years, in true spirit. Then comes the primary years. Primary years, I think, is again going to be benefited because when a child comes from so nursery to grade 2, yeah, a lot will happen. But when it comes to grade 3 onwards, currently the schools do not really do the activities what a child was used to of doing in the preschool. And the experiential learning changes into rote learning, and children are just read and write the basic 2 developmental indicators. I think the way government is trying to bring in skills, trying to this policy document has a lot of things about how a child should be treated, how skills should be developed. I think that way primary years is also going to benefit when we say experiential learning or learnings where the pedagogy is also going to change to a larger extent. I'm again saying there are schools which are 90% NEP ready even before the policy was announced. Because, we're all a part of the global fraternity, and global best practices were brought in by various schools. What I'm trying to tell you is the general, level what is going to go up. And these are the areas where we all should focus if we have not really prepared for it. So I think pedagogy wise, again, primary years, we need to be prepared for. Infrastructure, I don't see much changes. The classrooms are going to be same. Probably, some more space in the classroom, or, the way children sit might change in the primary years as well, because we have the traditional seminar style seating in the classrooms. That might change at the grassroots level as well, because, the delivery is going to change slightly. Then again, teachers, I have seen in India, the higher education as in the higher classes, everybody focuses. Early years, everybody focuses. But when it comes to primary teachers, there are very few organizations which are into primary teachers training, organizations where, they can teach, because I do school audit. So I see in grade 2, grade 3, grade 4, most of the teachers go and, the only method what they use to teach is the lecture method. So I think, teacher training is something which is going to, again, teachers need to change there. And I think we all need to prepare for our teaching delivery. The process, again, when I mean to say process, the way the entire school timetable, or, the way the students are dealt, first period, second period, these many subjects, 2 periods of computer in a week, 1 period of music, dance, and all that. So I think there, we might see a lot of innovation happening, schools trying to add various, different processes to kind of help, schools deliver better, help teachers deliver better. So I think there some changes are going to happen, and we should kind of, think on these lines. Again, assessments, as we all know that up to grade 8, government has given us free hand to have our own assessment pattern up to grade 8, with certain recommendations. So there again, assessments is something, which has to change, and which will change for good. And fee structure, maybe not very much. You might have to, think of, because, fee structure becomes a very important thing for school. So maybe a 5% upward fee structure, I see, this is beyond the normal increment, because schools are going to, if NEP has to be implemented in true spirit, schools need to spend money on the teacher training. They need to spend money on the infrastructure and pedagogical development, what they will do. Then comes the middle years. I think middle years, again, when I was a child and I was studying in my middle years, there was no excitement. We were neither treated as, the little ones, nor we were treated as seniors. We were like, okay, they're there as a part of the school. Let them come to grade 9, and then we'll see what has to be done to these people. So I think middle years is something where government is trying to bring in artificial intelligence and many other, coding and all these things. Apart from that, now coding and artificial intelligence are two hyped areas, but there are a lot of other skills. Basically, our new education policy heavily advocates on developing on the skills that are needed in 21st century. If we have all gone through the document issued by World Economic Forum on, top 15 skills that we need to survive, we need to have to survive in 21st century, skills like innovation, creativity, tolerance, coexistence. There's a whole lot of list. So all these skills gradually are going to come in. And here, I think, we need to change our infrastructure a bit. A lot of schools, I don't know if you all are aware of engineering colleges have got a workshop area where whatever they are teaching these kids in the first year, all the engineering kids go to this workshop and learn everything, and then they kind of go to the super specialization. So I think a life skill, not really life skill, a skills area is something which I have been advocating to a lot of schools, where in fact your auditorium can be a skills area where public speaking and debates and all can happen. Even those are skills. Infrastructurally, I think a skill area is something which might come up. And again, when it comes to teachers might have to one thing that has happened after COVID is that we whatever we are trying to teach, students already know it, because all of them have now discovered that the channel called YouTube, the app called YouTube has got everything available there. Or you can Google, because I think after pandemic has hit us, kids now know that internet can be used, or in general you have a lot of free resources available to you, and you can study as well. So I think the concept of flipped classroom is something which is going to come in the middle years, because kids might already know what you're trying to teach. So there the teaching approach has to change, wherein teachers will have to work maybe on the higher order thinking skills, not just sharing the information. So there I see a change. And I think process wise, our middle years is more or less sorted. A lot of schools take them on excursions, take them on trips, some amount of experiential learning, what we see in our schools usually happens in the middle years. So I think there we are more or less sorted. Yes, assessment is something which is very, very important, because government is working on assessment patterns. The reason why our some of the documents of the policy hasn't come is this, that a comprehensive holistic assessment is something which is going to come up. And fee structure wise, again, I somewhere see out of proportion a minimum 5% increment in the fee is something which is going to happen, irrespective of the the level at which we are. And the last one is the last four, that is grade 9 to 12. There I think there's going to be a revolutionary change, because grade 9 and 10 again, when last 15-20, much has changed in grade 9 and 10, where these kids are kept under tremendous pressure as to what subjects are you going to take, or are you a science student, or do you have the traits of becoming a doctor and all that stuff. I think we already know there are a lot of stuff where credits can be coming in, and these students can maybe study two such subjects which are not really related to each other, just because one individual likes it. The individual can, in fact, there are decent colleges in Europe and America where if you want to be a doctor, and if you have not studied biology in grade 11 and 12, you still can take admission and later on study biology there. There are a few prestigious universities in the world where this is allowed, and I hope the new policy brings this also in our system. Maybe if I wanted to study psychology with commerce, I can do that from grade 9. One good thing I think which is going to change is that even if you're not too sure of what you want to do in your life, you can at least pick and choose subjects which you really like. Maybe somebody wants to study economics and math, along with physics, which is a very weird combination considered so far. in India. Even that can happen. And as far as pedagogy is concerned, I think because of the assessment, changes in the assessment in the school, because I think one great thing which is going to happen is that we need to have better assessments, not just writing an exam and getting marks. We've already seen a lot has changed in assessment during COVID as well. So because of change in the mad race of performing in an examination, the pedagogical changes are also going to come, because kids need to be taught more practically. They need to be taught to understand rather than just to mug up. So there'll be changes. I think these are the areas where we all need to start thinking and bringing in. Everybody's going to start the same way when it comes to implementation of this policy. The more you read, the more you discuss, the more you research, the better is going to be your implementation. And infrastructurally, I don't see much of change. Yeah, there could be a couple of additional labs. There could be a couple of additional spaces that might be needed. And teachers, again, training is something which I've initially that all of us at all the level need to kind of go through. Process, yes. Understanding the new system, understanding the credits, the marking, all these things are going to change in terms of the school process. Assessment I've already spoken about, and I think because of various additional combination of subjects, because currently a school would offer maybe 8 to 10 subjects, wherein there are about 38 subjects at grade 11 and 12 level. So probably schools will have to spend more in hiring more teachers. There is something called engineering drawing, which I think a lot of schools are not offering currently. But that is something which after the new policy, if a child needs it, either you have it or the child will leave the school or go somewhere else. So I think there I see a lot of investments being made by schools in hiring teachers for more subjects and creating more facilities for these subjects. So to the best of my understanding, about anywhere between 10 to 15% is the expenditure that a school is going to incur more. So early years and the senior years, the last 4 and the first 5, there I see about 10 to 15% cost going up for genuinely cost going up for the school. So I think this is what I wanted to share with you all. If anybody has got any questions, I would be more than happy to answer. Thank you so much. And thank you, Parisar Asha, for giving me this opportunity.
Yes, so thank you, Dr. Mishra. Are there any questions for Dr. Mishra which we can address?
Yeah, no, actually, I can't see any questions here.
Okay, in that case, any which ways, the presentation was very much detailed, Doctor, and I'm sure all our educators have taken note of it. And you also paid special emphasis to teachers training. So here I would like to say to everyone that Parisar Asha is geared up with a lot many capacity building programs for teachers. So kindly get in touch with us to know more details about that. So
Wonderful.
Thank you, Doctor, once again, and we present to you the certificate of gratitude from Parisar Asha.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So thank you, Doctor. And with that, we are moving on to the final segment of our summit today, which is the final set of awards for the Gloria D'Souza Awards. I'm sure everyone is waiting. So without any further delay, I would ask Mr. Sukhita Sahasrabudhe to bring on the AV, please. Arjuna Ramchandra Sante. Mohammad Zishan. So those were the winners for the Gloria Awards, and heartiest congratulations to all the achievers. And here I would specially like to mention that we had a lot many entries, and congratulations to each one of you for the commendable work that you have been doing. And now on the screen, you will see there's a number given, and you have to send us your addresses. Am I right, Sukta? We need the complete address of the participants. You would have to send it to us on this number, and we would be, courier the trophies to you. And to all the others who couldn't make it this year, we are looking forward to you being here next year with us. So with that, over to you, Aarti, for the vote of thanks.
Sapna, we would also like to show the list of winners now.
Yes. Okay. So we are showing the list of winners for the Gloria Awards, which you will be seeing on screen.
All of you can take a screenshot, and this will be also posted on Facebook, Parisarasha's Facebook page and Parisarasha account. So you can download it from there.
Yes. So congratulations once again to all the winners.
I hope you have taken the screenshots of this.
Yes, so it will be on Parisarasha page too. So once again, congratulations. And over to you, Ms. Aarti Savor, for the vote of thanks.
Yeah, so thank you, Sapna. First of all, you had been a great host. So thank you so much. Yeah, of summing up, so beautifully what all the speakers they were talking about. So yeah, and thank you to all our esteemed speakers. In spite of their busy schedule, they could make it over here for us, for Parisarasha. Thank you all the juries of Gloria Awards. And we are so sorry that we don't disclose your names, because we really want to make it very, very transparent competition, and we don't want people to feel okay, this jury knows this person, so that's why the numbers are even more. So all the winners and all the people who have nominated, all the teachers who have nominated themselves for this year's award, and for so many years we are conducting this contest. So let me tell you, there are so many winners. They have been trying every year. So don't give up your hope if you have not got this year. There will be always hope and new beginnings for next year too. And as I said, it is very transparent. All the juries, we take their average and then we decide on the winner. So better luck next time if you have not got the award, but then I'm sure you are already winner, because you have been doing amazing work, especially during this pandemic too. And keep up your great work, and congratulations to all the winners. And thank you so much for being patient for almost for 3 hours with us. And I would also like to thank our trustees. If our trustees are here, they have been always there to Parisarasha, great support. All our CSR partners and individual supporters, because of you, we could see 40 years of sustainability and success, and so that we could reach out to millions of people and make some difference in their life. All the educators who are here, who are watching us live on Facebook, and today's video we will be streaming on YouTube also. That will be in a day or two's time. So if anybody wants to see this video again, you can always go to our Parisarasha's YouTube channel, and you can have this today's recording available over there. All the students who have been our integral part of our journey, for them we are here. And so thank you so much for all the students, teachers and parents for giving us unconditional love, and we really look forward for your unconditional support in future also. So I think I have not missed out anyone other than my Parisarasha team, because you have been always awesome. So I think a big round of a clap to all our Parisarasha team members. Usually on our, when we have this physical event, we always have this group photo towards the end, which we are missing this year too. I hope next year we will have a physical event where we can actually invite and welcome all the people with Tilache Ladu, Tilgul Gyani God God Bola, that we usually do. But yeah, you can take our sweet wishes thinking that is Tiya Se Ladu. And take care of yourself, stay home, stay safe. And also, I would like to thank the Wi-Fi and all the technology, so that we could get connected to all of you sitting at home. And in spite of having COVID and all this lockdown and all these precautionary measures, we could still continue with our legacy. We could still continue. This is our 8th year of Gloria Awards, not Gloria Awards, but our regular annual summit, and our 7th year of Gloria Awards. So looking forward for many more to come. And don't give up your hopes if you have not got award this year. So thank you so much, and stay safe, stay blessed. Thank you. Over to you, Sapna.
Yes, so thank you, Aarti, for the vote of thanks. You have thanked everyone, but on my part too, I would once again like to thank our esteemed judges of the award ceremony that happened, the awards jury, our esteemed panelists today, the wonderful audience who was there, and most important, I would like to thank on behalf of the entire Parisar Asha team, Miss Aarti Savur, for always inspiring us and holding such wonderful events which benefit a lot many educators. So thank you, Aarti, for that. Also, I would like to thank, there are many of our past colleagues from Parisar Asha who have joined us at the summit. So I take this opportunity to thank each one of them, because the 40 years journey wouldn't have been possible without all of you. And a special mention to 4-5 names. The entire Parisar Asha team has put together this, but a special mention requires for, nowadays, it's all about social media. So for our social media promotions, I would like to take the name of Ms. Joanne Pereira, who's been diligently doing all our postings on FB and all the social medias. I would like to thank a familiar name with most of you over here, which is Mr. Anthony Mascarenas, who is the marketing person for Parisar Asha. I would like to thank our senior program manager, who is Ms. Shri Datta Gupta, working hard behind the scenes. And last but not the least, Ms. Sukhada Sahasra Buddhe, who is our manager, art and aesthetics, but she's an all-rounder and she has been a key ingredient in making this show run so successfully. So a huge round of applause for the entire team. Yes, Aarti?
You have to mention Anjali.
Yes, Anjali Haskote for, coordinations, which are so much important. She is our administrator, the person you saw right at the beginning of the ceremony, doing the invocation prayer song. So that's Miss Anjali for you. So I'm sorry if I have missed out anybody, but once again, I say the entire team effort goes into a making of a summit of this kind. And being online, of course, thankful to the Wi-Fi too. So with that, I request all of you to stand up for the national anthem.
Yeah, if all can switch on their videos.
Yes. So signing off from Parisar Asha till we meet once again. Goodbye and God bless.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. God bless.